Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, a special episode because it is such a short time between this episode and the greatness of Nico Hines and the Sharkies. But before I get to that, got the great Gurino here. How you been, brother?
I'm good, mate. Had a big week this week. Girlfriend's birthday, mum's birthday, Mother's Day.
I can tell you'd be a real mum's boy, I reckon.
Yeah, shocking week to be a candle.
Did you go over there and like get cuddled in her arms and
of
be
course.
Like, take me back to the old days, mum?
You're lucky to have me there. Don't worry. Have me here. Don't worry.
What about you, big fella?
Yeah, mate, down to the nation's capital on Friday night to watch the Raids resurrect their season. So back in the top four hunt after that big win over the Dogs. So, mate, good to see them get a win up though, and good to be back on.
Mate, yeah, what a weekend of footy. What a weekend of footy. It was a few teams that out of the 8 last year that looked no chance are in the 8, and then a few teams where you thought surely they'll bounce back this year. Going, what is actually doing? But before we get there, Bloke jerseys dropping this tonight, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. tonight. So be there or be square because they will most likely sell out. So I would be there. There's a limited amount as well. So once they're gone, it'll be minimum 12 months before we get another lot in because they take so long to get done. I'm currently wearing a large. So they're a little bit oversized. I could fit into a medium. So if you are normally, if you like it a bit tighter, I would say go a size down. But obviously up to you. But they're slightly oversized. What do you got there, Guru?
If you're packing into the front row with me, I think I've got a 3XL.
So we're selling 3XL.
Yeah.
What have you got?
I got large, but I kind of like it a bit looser.
You like it baggier?
Yeah.
But so you could fit a medium
I
then?
could easily fit a medium. I could probably fit a small, to be honest. But,
okay,
but
so they're a little bit oversized, just so you know that when you're buying. But they're high quality, great comfortable, limited amount. So be there 6 p.m. tonight. You go to www.bloke.shop. Be ready, set your alarms because they're going to go quick, guys. The response we've gotten has actually been way more than I thought. So if you want the jersey, be there. Also, if you order via Express, you will get them before Friday, before Magic Round. So order Express to get them before Friday. Hopefully, we will pack them on Tuesday morning. So if they're express, they should be there by Wednesday or Thursday, but we can't control what Ozpurse does, but we will be packing them on Tuesday morning. So they should be there. So grab a Bloke jersey. They're super comfy. I wear mine all the time. Also, we are in every single celebrations Bottle-O, Porter's Liquor and IGA Plus Liquor across New South Wales and ACT. That is right. It is official. So we got named official a month or two ago, but due to all the floods and that, the beer, the logistics of it was really hard to get all the beer out into those stores. But now we are officially in all those stores. On top of that, we're in their catalogue. I think so. It's discounted. I think to $53. So that's $53 discounted down from $59.95. So and that's across all of those stores. I'm pretty sure. At the very least, it's across celebrations. But it's on special across all those stores. As I said to you last time, guys, if you go and support the beer and get into these stores, IJ Plus Liquor, Porter's Liquor, Bottle-O, and celebrations across New South Wales and ACT, if we go really well, they put us across the whole country in all of those stores, and it takes the beer to a whole new level, which takes the sporting network to a whole new level. It would be massive for the sports network if we do that. It'll just change everything. So get in there, support the beer. Also, the stores in Spotlight, Great Northern Hotel Chatswood, Federal Hotel Mudgee, Royal Hotel Orange, BYO Cellars Faster. Is that Faster? Foster. F-O-R. Is that how it's spelled?
Yeah, it's kind of weird spelling.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Foster. Super Barn Express Red Hill, Heathcote Cellars, Rocklear Hotel Drive, Cooley Liquor, Club Hotel Roma, Star Liquor Raceview, Courtyard Esplanade Cairns, it's on tap, and N17 Burger Co. Port Douglas, it's on tap. Now, huge news dropping over the weekend, boys. Kieran Foran signs with the Titans. I have my own thoughts on this. You boys have your thoughts on this. It's going to be interesting to see if we can meet in the middle. What do you think about this, Gurina?
Yeah, I think the Titans, they need an experienced head like Foran, but if the price tag is accurate, which fuck knows if it is, but if it is, I don't know. I mean, I look at Foz and I think he's playing really good footy at the moment, but I remember when Foz left Manly, I thought he's playing really good footy at the moment. I don't know. Foran, it sounds crazy, but I just wonder if he's as good a footballer if he's not at Manly. It's a bizarre little one. I think they need an experienced head. I don't know how many other guys are off contract that are out there at the moment. So Foz might be the guy they need, but does it seem like a bit of a knee-jerk from where they were heading at the start of the season, backing in.
Yeah, I think it's a great signing, footy-wise. I think financially speaking, as you said, if the tag is what it's being reported, I think it's absurd. Like, this is a bloke who I think last season was the first time in years that he played over 15 games of footy. So, but, I mean, we spoke last week about how much the Titans have invested in Toby Sexton for their future and how he needs an experienced half to go in there and, teach him the ropes, show him how to become a week in, week out NRL footballer and what that entails. I think Foz is the perfect bloke for that. Even on the field, I think he's a perfect foil for Toby Sexton to take a bit of pressure off. But as I said, with his injury history, at his age, the money, I think, is a big investment.
Big investment? What do you reckon, matey?
I think, as you said, footy-wise, I think they really need it. But at the start of the year or the start of pre-season, they put all their eggs in the basket of Brimson 5'8", Campbell fullback, Sexton halfbacks. I'm wondering what that will do to that. Obviously, he's going to play 6, so you'd assume AJ Brimson's going to be fullback. So what does that mean for Jaden Campbell? It took me by surprise a little bit. I actually, basing this off absolutely nothing, just thought he'd stay at Manly. So, kind of took me by surprise. But I think it's good. I don't really know anything. I didn't read much about the figures or anything. But aside from that, footy-wise, I think it's good for the Gold Coast. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. I understand the initial reaction of $750K for a bloke that, did struggle with injury and rah-rah. Also, I can understand the context of hang on a sec, you had Fogarty there for way cheaper. You got rid of him, and now you're paying, $750 reportedly to Kieran Foran. I would say I would be confident there would be clauses in that contract to say if you don't play X amount of games. I think $750 is the max amount of what he can earn. Because let's say he does play 2 years and doesn't get injured, or he plays 20 games each year. You'd say he's worth $750K a year in the current climate.
Yep.
Pretty much for the way he's playing now. Another thing that I think people, when you look at the $750K, you're just looking at that figure and you're not realising the context around it. And so the Titans, when they look at their salary cap, they've got to spend that money anyway. And so when you look at the market, you go, yes, okay, is it a risk? Maybe it is a risk, but do we want to not get a guy like Kieran Foran and then not spend the money? You have to spend the money, otherwise you're an idiot. And so you look on the market and you go, who else is out there that could even come close to Kieran Foran when it comes to skill set, experience? On top of all that, let's say he doesn't play the games and there's a clause in there that he only gets paid $500K or whatever. I think that his off-field teachings to Sexton would, it wouldn't be worth it because he's not playing first grade and you're paying him $500K. But at the very least, you've got one of the best 6s or 7s in the last 10 or so years when he's playing good footy. So I actually think, even though I think the way the Titans got to this decision, I think it was, something else must have happened with the Fogarty Titans thing. It makes no sense that they, allowed Fogarty to go because clearly they've got money in the cap. So it clearly wasn't a money thing. Fogarty would have been on nowhere near $750K. So I actually think it's a great signing from the Titans.
And as you said, Foz, he's been one of the best over the last 10 to 15 years. Even when he's not at his best, I think it's only injuries that are holding him back.
Absolutely.
So he does have a lot to pass on. And we were saying it last week when they played the Panthers. We were saying, geez, look at Nathan Cleary on the other side of the field. He had James Maloney next to him. Now he's going to have Foz there. Hopefully it works out for them. I do wonder, as you said, all eggs in the same basket at the start of the year. We get 9 rounds in. Is it a bit of a panicked sort of signing?
It's absolutely reactionary.
Yeah,
because I just keep going back to it. And we were, when they got rid of Fogarty, we were going, what is going on at the Titans?
Yep.
Something I cannot for the life of me understand how they allowed that to happen unless there's more to the story that we just don't know about. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, I said the Fogarty thing still makes no sense to me, a bit like you fellas and that. Looking particularly at what he's going to bring to them on field, we know what he can do in attack. We know he'll provide the direction that the Titans have been looking for a fair while now. I love just the fact that, provided he can string games together, the defensive assurity that he'll bring to an edge. The Titans defensively have been so poor for a number of years now. Foz is arguably the best half defender in the competition. And I know he's only one little piece of that defensive puzzle, but far out he'll help them in defence as well as what we know we're doing in attack. Yep. So I can't wait for it. I'm so excited to see it, and I want nothing more than to see him string a full season together.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the standards that he's going to bring into training, because what reflects in the Titans is a young squad that doesn't have an old head going, boys, fucking pull your heads in. You need to do this. And the Broncos struggled with it two or 3 years ago. Look how different the Broncos are with an Adam Reynolds in their side and a Kurt Capewell. Like they actually show a bunch of grit. Look at the Sharks. Dale Finucane comes in. Even when he's not playing, they're a different squad. And last night we saw, is it a surprise that a Sharks side with McInnes and Finucane create history in one of the games where you need some of the mentally toughest people on the park? Anyway, we'll get to that. So look, I think that this is a great signing for the Titans. I really do. I'm just going to assume, because the thing is, we have to just assume he's going to play most games because every player can get injured. And I understand the history of it. I totally get that, he hadn't strung some games together with the Doggies, was injured. But he has played essentially a season and a half, and it looks like he's going to keep playing. On top of all that, how often does a half of his calibre come on the market? It's very rare. So the Titans I think they've taken this opportunity.
What do you see this doing for the development of Toby Sexton?
Oh, crazy. You almost couldn't ask for a better half to come and teach him because he's been through everything, Foran. He has seen everything. He's seen the tippity top, winning premierships, you're the next big thing, to the lowest of the low, a fan base that's off him. He's on a big contract. He has to leave. He has seen everything. He's seen everything on the field. He's seen injuries. So, honestly, out of all the halves in the game right now, he's probably the best man to be taught by. Even maybe even better than DCE because DCE hasn't had to go through all the... I mean, he's been through negative stuff, don't get me wrong, like the Titan situation, DCE has struggled through things, but I feel like the array of things Foran has been through, I don't think any half in the game right now has experienced what he's experienced.
I think DCE has always been cuddled to some extent by Manly too.
Because he's so good, yeah.
He's so good, whereas Foran, he's been left out to dry a couple of times in my opinion. What does it do for Jaden Campbell?
This is interesting. I was going to leave a comment in response to someone wrote that exact thing. I actually think, now people said, what does this do for Brimo and Campbell? But I actually think that it will be Sexton and Campbell competing for a spot. And what I mean by that is Brimo may go to 6, Foran may go to 7, Sexton may play his trade back in Q Cup for another year or two, and then Campbell may be fullback. So I actually don't... Brimo's a lock in that side. I think we can all agree that he is an absolute lock. Every time they play, even if they're getting towed up, he's one of their best players. And so I actually think that it'll be Sexton fighting for his position. Sexton and Campbell will be fighting that position. Because I can see Foran as a 7. I think he's definitely got what it takes to be a 7. We saw at the Bulldogs when he wasn't injured. He basically led the team around. So I think it would be more maybe... Titans have said, look, we hope that it's going to be Foran and Sexton, but if it's not, Sexton takes a year in Q Cup, applies his trade. He's still only under 20 at the moment, 19?
I think he's 21.
He's 21, so he's still young as anything, got plenty of time. I do think they do miss Campbell a bit, though. I really do.
I'll just add, as I was getting ready for the show last night and I was thinking about the Foran signing, I thought, I wonder how Campbell went this week in reserve grade. They had the bye and they still didn't pick him. So he didn't play rugby league.
Crazy. And the week before, though, he killed it.
He brained it, yeah. But I thought it was interesting that. And you know what? Granted, the Titans, they put up a really good fight against Penrith the week before. So I understand, sticking with that side. But it'll be interesting to see if he comes in this week now.
What I'm not getting with the Campbell situation is your defence hasn't gotten better. Like that, the only reason you would drop Campbell is defence, in my opinion. Because attacking-wise, he's literally one of the best fullbacks in the comp. So, what are your thoughts about the Campbell situation at the Titans?
Look, as I think we mentioned last week, I'd definitely have him in there. And looking forward, keeping in context with Foz going out there, it bodes pretty poorly for Campbell. Let's be realistic. They've invested their future in Toby Sexton, at least for the time being. We know how quickly that can change. But Brimo is great at 5'8", but I think he plays his best footy at fullback. So you'd think they'd be looking at Foz and Sexton in the halves, Brimo at fullback, but they do have options, and that's a good thing for the club. They'll have some quality depth there. Next season, how good will it be for Sexton to have, instead of this year where he's got Will Kennedy, who's a utility off the bench, who's probably played most of his footy at fullback, playing in the halves with him. So Sexton's going at 20, 21 years old, shit, I've got to run the show here, I've got to get this team around the park, and he's still developing. Then you'll have AJ Brimson in the halves with him. Again, primarily a fullback, Sexton doing everything. Next year, he'll have Foz there just going, all right, you can be the dominant playmaker. You can get us around the park. You can lead this side around the park. Sexton, the pressure off his shoulders, another year older by then as well. I think it can unlock Sexton and it'll just be perfect for his development. So in the Campbell situation, you'd be sitting there going, well, they're not picking me now. If Foz comes up next year, where's the spot for me? So
Yep. Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree in the sense that like Campbell's situation becomes even more like, okay, what's happening here, which is crazy to think. I will say, and I feel like I say this every time, if I'm the Broncos, I'm ringing straight away, going, mate, we need a, like, you know, Tessie New. I think Tessie New's a good fullback, but I think he's probably more suited to centre. I like him in centre. He's a good, strong body, solid in defence. Jaden Campbell at the back there with Reynolds, and you put Martin in the Tomato Martin in the 6. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Selwyn Cobbo, give him an extra year at fullback, maybe move him into centre eventually, and you just compete. You just got compete between Campbell, and if you have that much strike power in your back, I don't mind it. Is there any other clubs that you would think?
It'd be a pretty cool narrative if, you know, Preston Campbell wears the 1 in the first game for the Titans and Jaden wears the 1 first game for the Dolphins.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting.
The Dolphins. I like that. That's interesting.
I love a narrative. That'd be a good one.
Yeah. Let's get the narrative counter in the corner here. It'll be 1,000 by the end of it. That's an interesting one because then you could say, if you are the Dolphins and you go, look, Reece Walsh, he's a gun. He's a gun. But he's going to be way more expensive than Jaden Campbell. Maybe we ring Campbell and say, mate, we need a fullback. You put Asako on the wing because Asako wouldn't be on big coin. You get Campbell up there and you say, mate, it's your jersey to lose. I don't mind it. What do you think about that?
if they don't get, let's say they are having a look at Campbell hypothetically, if they do have a look at Campbell, Walsh just for so many different reasons has to be their number one target as the marquee player, you know, as the face of the club going forward. And you mentioned before about cap space and how they've got money to spend. Geez, the Dolphins have got money to spend. So even if they do pay Walsh overs, if they can get into the club, I think it'd be worth doing. Look, I think Walsh mentioned that his ambitions are to stay with the Warriors and keep playing with them next season, but I'd be throwing everything I could at Reece Walsh after missing Ponga. But as I said, if they do miss Walsh and Jaden Campbell, why not?
Yep. See, I go the other way. I go give Munster a bit extra, bump him up to 1.4 or 5, get him to the club, and then the money that you save on getting Campbell, because I don't think they can get Walsh and Munster, whereas I think they could get Campbell and Munster. And a Campbell and Munster, I believe, is just as dangerous as a Walsh and Munster. So interesting times, man. To think Campbell is going to be more pressure on his spot. Like, I thought he was a lock-in.
Yep.
He was so good. I thought even he was good at the start of this season. So really interesting to see that develop. I wonder how long. Can you check how long they've got Campbell signed for? I mean, they're not against letting go of players early. They let go of Fogarty early. But the whole picture, you have to spend that money anyway.
2024.
Okay, so wow.
So we can't even talk this November.
It's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen with there because he's too good to be playing reserve grade. I mean, maybe he has to just cop it. Because if I'm Titans, I'm going, mate, but you're staying. Like,
yeah.
If we need a guy like you to come in, and if you come in and kill it, then you keep your spot. Yeah, so look, interesting times. All in all, I think Kieran Foran is an absolutely fantastic signing. I think that I understand people's reservations with a 750K, but I think Titans would be crazy to not have some kind of clauses in there to say, if you don't play over 15 games or whatever, it drops, down to X amount of dollars, whatever it is. Even if they don't, I can understand, because how often does a half of his calibre come on the market?
And you look at the experienced halves this year and what they've done to clubs.
Look at the Broncos.
Look at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like the list goes on and on,
Exactly.
Such an interesting one with the clauses in contract around injuries and whatnot, because you think in a perfect world, yeah, there would be for someone like Foz, back end of his career, a lot of injuries in the past, but I can't see Foz signing a contract with if you get injured, you get in 250K a year less, when like another club might say, we'll give you 500 or 600K, irrelevant of how many games you play.
Yep.
Do you think there are clauses in contracts surrounding injuries in games played in the NRL these days or not?
I reckon it's something to be spoken about. I do know there's clauses in contracts of like, if you play X amount of first grade, you get this bonus and stuff like that.
Yeah, but often for like the lower tier players.
Yeah. And so. Yeah, again, I'm just spitballing here, and I'm just going on for what I would go into negotiations with Foz, because you just have to future-proof yourself. And maybe you make it a reasonable amount, like he just has to play, 14 games in the season or whatever. Or maybe it's not a huge cut. It's only, there's like different stages. If he plays, 14, he gets like less than 14, he loses 100K or something along those lines. But in saying that, you know, maybe the reason why Foz signed is because it doesn't have any of that in it. He's sitting there going. The difference is, I think Manly really could only offer him minimum.
Just on Manly, do we link this at all to the Schuster noise last week?
I think it's purely end of his career money.
Yeah.
I think Manly truly can't offer him more than pretty much minimum. Because if you think about it, you got DCE on $1 million or 1.2. You got Tom Trbojevic on $1 million. You've got Jake Trbojevic on about 700K. Like, where do you get your money from?
Yeah.
And then you got Schuster, who's got, you know, I don't know. I honestly think that they basically just didn't have the money. And also, you got to remember, when they signed Foran, it wasn't a part of some long-term plan. It was, oh, shit, Foran's on the market.
Yeah, he's available.
He's available. Let's give him minimum, get him home, get him playing well. So I just don't think they've got the money in the cap. So some people are going to link it to Schuster. I disagree. I don't think it has to do anything to do with Schuster and everything to do with, he got offered $750K reportedly from a Titans side. Go live up on the Gold Coast, end your career there. How good.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I mean, it's worked out incredibly. Like when Manly signed him, as you said, he was available. But like, I reckon it's worked out better than what they could have imagined.
Oh, massively. Now, what does it mean for Manly, though? I think that the concern, not the concern because it is a concern. The concern is the pressure on Schuster now is fucking through the roof. Like, because it's one thing for a player to be, you know, I guess, we're not going to re-sign you because, you know, we've got money in the cap, we just don't think you're worth it, and then him being upset and going, all right, well, I'm out of here, to, you know, basically, I assume offering him quite low because this next guy's coming through. And so when fans are going to look and go, we just lost Foran, we need you to deliver. It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, yeah. I'd like to think the kid's talented enough, especially with the DCE next to him.
Yep.
I think he will be okay, but, I mean, if we get to halfway through next year and Manly are struggling,
yeah,
fans they'll let him know very quickly.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
He'll be fine, mate. He's a gun. They have options. Guru nailed it. He's got DC next to him, one of the most experienced halves in the competition, still the Kangaroos half. He's a gun.
Yeah.
I think he'll excel in that position. I have zero doubts over it. At the end of the day, if he does move to 5'8", it doesn't eventuate it, as they sort of have the expectations for him to kill it there. There's nothing stopping him going back to the back row, and there'll be other halves options, so it'll be fine.
They got Weeks, they got Fainu coming through.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the other halves. I think Schuster will go to 6. They might blood Weeks later in the year and make him 14 next year, because I think Dylan Walker's gone to the Warriors next year, so that's their 14 gone. And if it doesn't work out, they could just blood him, or I don't know, Fainu's probably not ready next year, but they could just blood Weeks. I think that'll be fine.
That Cade Cust has also got a thing in his contract that he can come back to Manly essentially whenever he wants.
He can't sign with another club until his contract's.
See, that's why, like with the Foran thing, there are strange clauses in contracts, and that's where I think maybe the Titans have gone, and Foran's just backed himself and just gone, you know, I can play that many games, I'm going to back myself. Schuster, I agree. I'm just posing the question, but I think he will eat that pressure up. Yeah. He doesn't seem like a player that's going to struggle under pressure. Matter of fact, he's almost sometimes too confident. Like some of the plays he makes is like, just hold it, hold the ball one more set and then try that maybe few sets down the line.
With a guy like him, obviously, you know, Brad Fittler spoke last year that he was very close to picking him in the Origin arena. Do you think him playing 6, could that sort of stall him as far as a rep career goes? Or are you happy, you know what he can do in the second row, you can pick him out of position?
I actually think it may help him because you can put him on the bench then and be safeguarded. Like, we know he can play 6. We know his big body can play edge. I think the edge back row for New South Wales is just as competitive, maybe even more competitive than the 6 role for New South Wales. Like, when you think about how many guns New South Wales have in that back row, whereas I can see a world where 6 definitely helps him rather than hurts him.
Okay.
Because does anyone doubt that he can play on the edge? Like he just can. Whereas I would doubt at the moment, can he play 6 in the big occasions? Maybe, maybe not. But I think him playing there week in, week out, I think he's going to play very similarly to what he plays at the moment, if I'm being honest. I think he's just going to bring his play 10 metres infield, really. That's the only difference to the way he's going to play. Because he's not really a back row that hits in lines or anything like that, really. He's a back row that creates opportunity for other people.
Early ball back row,
Yep. So, interesting times. I think, look, best for both worlds in the sense that the Manly no longer have to worry about having their best young superstar upset, and the Titans get one of the best halves in the competition that's playing great footy and has been injury-free now for a year and a half. So win-win. Because after the weekend watching the Titans, man, we always expected this with youth.
Yeah.
But I think it's really driven home that Fogarty letting go, for whatever reason, whoever's fault it was, whether it was Fogarty's, whether it was Titans, has really come back to bite them, I think.
And I mean, like, you have a look at that game on the weekend. I think it was 24-16 with 20 minutes to go. Roosters won the last 20 minutes, 20-0.
Yeah.
And they're your championship minutes where you're experienced halves.
Well, look at the Raiders.
Yep.
We talked about that experience. They bring them into key positions. The Raiders get home.
Yep.
When usually they'd fade out. So, yeah, look, great time. You know what? I'm stoked for Foran. This bloke has been through the ringer. He has been through everything. If you said 24 months ago Foran is going to be a marquee signing for a club, I would have said you are kidding yourself.
Yeah.
His body, he's been way too tough for his own good. I just cannot see how he's going to get his body in good enough nick to be able to get through a whole season. Fast forward today, mate. And you know what? That's another reason why you'll sign a guy like him, because his mental toughness is up there with the likes of Dale Finucane and McInnes.
Yeah, and I think with Foz too, it's underrated. Like, he changed the game in his own little way. He was the first real ball player to really dig deep into the line.
Mate.
Like, he set a prototype for the guys like Mick Morgan, followed. You see Luke Keary do it. Like, he changed the game in his own little way. And because he was too tough for his own good, I think we sort of forgot how much he changed the game in those 3 or 4 years at Manly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, massive congratulations to Foz. Absolute legend of a bloke too. He's got the most Aussie accent ever for a Kiwi. Which I love. I love that shit. I mean, to be honest, we're all brothers in arms. That's what I love about the New Zealand-Australian relationship. Like, we put shit on each other constantly, like back and forth. But if any other country put shit on New Zealand, we would be like, fuck off, guys. They're our boys. They're our boys. But we constantly put shit on them. Do you know what I mean? And vice versa. Like, if anyone, I'm assuming New Zealand, if anyone put shit on us, New Zealand people would be like, fuck off. They're our mates. It's funny how, like, even like with your own mates, you put shit on them. But like, if someone else does, you're like, bruh, fuck off. So yeah, great stuff for Fozdog. Now let's get to a quick little stat deep dive.
Yeah, a really quick one. I had a look at receipts. So a receipt in rugby league is essentially every time you touch the ball. So dummy halves, hookers, they tend to dominate the amount of receipts they have every time they touch it. So if I'm dummy half, I give it to Timmy, he offloads back to me. That's 2 receipts for me, yeah? So it's every single time you touch the ball. Had a look at every single team, the amount of receipts they have. Teams average about 380 to about 430 per game. Some teams are a little bit lower, but they all sort of fit into that category. And I won't go through each of them, but just for a bit of context. So the Cowboys and the Eels doing very well this season. They score a try every 101 receipts, yeah? So every 101 touches of the football by their players, they score a try. Penrith, they do it every 93 touches. Melbourne do it every 60. Every 60 touches of the football, they score a try. Every 44 touches of the ball, they make an error. So you think about how easy it is to make an error, how hard it is to score a try. It is unbelievable.
And on top of that, I reckon if you took those stats for the last 4 games, it would be even less, because we've got to remember, start of the season, Storm had a bunch of errors. A bunch of errors.
It's crazy. And I mean, you look at the Melbourne Storm, they average 400 receipts per game. Let's take Canterbury, for example. They average 390. They score a try every 206 receipts.
Yeah, wow.
Melbourne are scoring one every 60.
And to show you how interesting these stats are and how important they are, like I think as rugby league purists, you hate to get too statty because it doesn't feel like a part of the game. It doesn't feel about the game that you love. But the harsh reality is stats are so important. These kind of stats. And what was interesting, I had Scotty Drinkwater on the Captain's Run with Cam Smith, which is every Thursday, 9 to 12, guys, on SEN's app. But he said that they sat down before their preseason and they looked at how many times Penrith defended their line before someone could score, like how many plays. And it was something like, I don't know. 24? And then they looked at the Cowboys and it was like 6 or something. And so they all sat down, and so the Cowboys, from those stats, literally did tackling every day of the preseason. And just want to drive home your point, like these stats matter and show a story.
And we said last week the Cowboys, they've improved by 19 points in defence this season.
Wow.
Matty, for the Bunnies, they're the team that they make the most errors in the competition at the moment. So the Bunnies are making one error every 29 touches of the ball.
What I do like about stats when they suit me is they make us not sound like when we say, oh, they've got to work on their ball handling, people might be like, man, what the fuck do you know? But like when the stats show it, it's like, well, you know, we actually watch the games. We know.
Mate, like the Brisbane Broncos, so I mean, the Melbourne Storm, they make an error every 44 receipts. Brisbane are only 42.
Yeah, wow.
So not bad. They're scoring a try every 127 receipts, which compared to Melbourne is pretty average, but compared to the rest of the comp, that's actually pretty decent. But
Brisbane just had those 2 shit games.
Yep.
If you take those games out of their season, you're going, fuck, this is a great, like far exceeding expectations.
Mate, every week that you win, I sit there and I'm like, oh, this superstar didn't have a huge game. This superstar didn't have a huge game. Like if it all, like you won without, anyway, we'll get to it. But
we'll get to it.
Haas and Capel, I thought it was very
What
impressive.
makes that Melbourne stat even more ridiculous is that just the fact that they play such expansive footy these days.
Yeah.
Like, we saw it over the weekend in particular against the Dragons. They were just fanging it from side to side, coming off their own line, weren't they? So they're doing this week in, week out, like for 80 minutes of a game, and they're still only in the error every 44 touches. Like, ridiculous.
Oh, it's what's crazy with the Storm too is we still have in our minds that they are a grindy footy side that's high completion, defend really well. No, they're the most flashy, flary side in the NRL, and it has been that way for a minimum 2 years. Like they are. If any other team was playing that style of footy, they would be being celebrated for this is the new way of rugby league, how exciting, getting the ball from side to side. And
it's kind of how we're talking about the Sharks.
Absolutely. But because the Storm are known to be so ruthless, we don't actually give them enough appreciation for. And I think, and I've said this multiple times before, what I loved about their win in 2020 is it said a lot of people for nearly a decade, maybe longer, were like, there's only reason Storm win is because they're the best at wrestling. And they hold us down for too long, rah. The first year that the wrestle pretty much just gets annihilated, they win the comp. And so it shows you they don't win because of any specific idea that they may come up with. They win because they have the highest standards and they meet those standards. So it doesn't matter what kind of footy we ever adapted to, the Storm, this current version of the Storm, would be one of the best teams because it's not about the specific thing, it's about the standards that they have across the board. Great stat there.
Just to drive that in, Melbourne, like if you're playing them and you defend them for 3 more sets than every other team between tries, you've got them equaled up with Penrith.
Yeah.
The second best.
So
and you
basically,
have to defend 3 more sets.
Well, you know what? That's perfect because you look at the Eels. I'm sure if you looked at that Eels game, they probably hit that target and it gave them a chance to be in the game with Storm, even though they only just got the job done. Great start there, Guru. So, they're nearly double as good as the next side.
Essentially, yeah.
Far out.
In attack, they're triple some of the teams.
Far out. Okay, now time for Team of the Week. This was super tough this week. Fuck, this was tough because there were just so many players, especially in the outside backs that had big games. But I went Tedesco, Cobbo, Talakai, Manu, Garrick, Munster, Hines, Carrigan, Grant, Paulo, Papali'i, Wilton, Taumalolo. Then I went Reynolds at 14, Ben Travojevic at 15, Papali'i as in Josh Papali'i at 16. 17, I went McGuinness. 18, I went Townsend.
Like you just named about 4 guys I want to put in my team now. Such a good week.
That's what I mean. I don't know. You could swap that whole team nearly.
And you could have picked 15 Sharks players. And
literally.
Fair shout. I went Teddy at fullback. Wingers, I had Cobbo and Garrick. Centres, I went Manu and Val Holmes. I went Munster at 6. Nico Hines at 7. Carrigan up front with Nelson Asofa Solomona. Harry Grant at 9. My second rowers, I had Isaiah Papali'i, Ben Travojevic, Cotter at 13. Then on the bench, I had Gutho, Madison, Wilton, and Adam Reynolds.
Boom. Gutho. Okay, Adam Reynolds, what did you have?
Teddy at fullback, Cobbo, Nick Meaney on the wings, centres Joey Manu and Jared Croker. A bit of a bias call there, but stuff it. Cam Munster and Nico Hines in the halves, Nelson Asofa Solomona and J-Brom in the front row, Harry Grant at hooker. IPAP and Teague Wilton, I thought was sensational in the back row. Paddy Carrigan at lock. I know he was named at prop, but same shit. Bench was Tommy Turbo, DCE, Junior Paulo, and Helam Lukey, who I'm loving more and more.
Lukey, mate. How good's he?
He's a gun.
2 games in a row where he's like swung a game's momentum.
Yeah.
Just comes on, gets through his work. Anyone else that stood out for you?
Not particularly. My biggest one was Junior Paolo this week. He was
Mate, he was
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Mate, I got so much time for Junior. Every time I need something from Junior, like, mate, can I do this right? Boom, he's there. Like, yeah, sweet, boom, I'm there. He is such a gentle giant. It's crazy. How cute was the interview with his young kid? All I could think was, thank God I don't have a kid the same age as your kid, because he gets steamrolled. I mean, if that isn't a mini Junior, just steamrolling blokes. Cutest interview ever. Yeah, I mean, some other guys that I had in the thing, Flegler I thought was really good, Corey Horsburgh, Tarpaner, Madison, To'o was massive coming back, Gutho was great, Suwali I thought was good, Tupou was good, Nanai had some moments, Nelson I had here as well.
Is this list ever going to end? My God.
Yeah, well, this is just like Brayley. I thought Brayley from the Sharks was massive. If Grant wasn't so outrageously good, Brayley would have been my 9. I thought he was so good. Think about being the 9 in a team that's a player down, and then they lose someone in 10 of the bin. So anyway, we'll get to that incredible victory. Now let's get to the round review. Any other big topics you guys want to speak about?
No, I'm ready to rip into some games, I think.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the Broncos v. the Rabbitohs, or the Rabbitohs versus Broncos. Mate, I tell you what, the Broncos are looking all right. You know what's crazy is they had less percentage of the ball than the Rabbitohs, and they beat them. Like, there is no, I don't care who you are, even the most ardent Broncos fan, you said they're going to have less percent of the ball without Payne Haas or Kurt Capewell. No one would have given Broncos a chance.
Mate, there is not a single stat that points to the Broncos winning this game.
Yep.
It was unbelievable. I won't read them out to you, but go and have a look at it. There is honestly not a single stat that points to the Broncos winning this game. You'd put that into consideration with Haas out, Capewell. Once again, Stags was really quiet, and they're just finding other ways to win. Adam Reynolds, obviously, star of the show we spoke about before, signing experienced halves, and fuck, he's been good the last month.
Oh, mate. I think he's actually gone to a new level. Yeah. Because, like, at the Rabbitohs, he was kind of like, you know, Cody Walker was having an incredible year and Latrell's there. Very hard to break out of their shadow. Whereas at the Broncos, he is the man.
He almost became like a role player at South Sydney. Now he's the main guy. He's so impressive. And we're seeing things that we saw from Adam Reynolds when he got Rookie of the Year almost 10 years ago. We're starting to see that sort of stuff again, which is crazy at the age he's at. And the guy that we've come to know of, Adam Reynolds, is the role player in that system. I've been so impressed with him.
What do you think about this game, Timmy?
It was just a real 360 full circle moment for me, watching Reynolds talking about storylines and that, with Adam Reynolds going to a new club, the Bunnies being in a grand final last year and just being relentless, battling this year, Broncos in the completely opposite position. We've spoken about the last couple of weeks, we all love here and value the importance of an organising half who can get them around the park. We've spoken about it timeless. Reynolds was the difference in this game, and what he's brought to the Broncos has just been immense. I think everyone had high expectations for him going up there, but he's delivered and then some, and it's showing on the ladder, it's showing on the field. You look how unsettled the Bunnies look with Cody Walker, had a bit of a stinker, and Reynolds was just pulling the strings. I loved it, yeah. Yeah,
look, well, you know what's crazy is guess where Broncos are on the ladder, guess where Rabbitohs are. Broncos are 8th, Rabbitohs are 9th. I mean, it just shows you, that's why so many clubs make errors where they pay overs for a 7, because if you get it right, it can change everything. And so it's that desperation of that position is just so crucial. You almost guarantee yourself you're not going to win a premiership if you don't have a good 7. Like, if you don't have a decent 7, not even premiership, you almost guarantee yourself not even finals footy. It's really the only position on the field where if it's not good, you're guaranteeing yourself no finals footy. Because you look at any team that has a bad 7, not a bad 7, but a 7 that's just not doing that well, they're usually in the bottom 8. Like, it's really... Whereas there are plenty of sides, even in the top 8, where you look at their 9, and they're solid, getting the job done. You look at their 6 sometimes, like you could even Gamble. Like, I love his energy, I love his effort, but he's not the most flashy 6 in the competition. Even fullback, that's a good position, but it's just that 7. It is just so important, so important.
And I got to the end of that game and sort of thought, Adam Reynolds, he was everywhere in that game. I went to have a look at the stats, and going back to receipts once again with halfbacks is important. He only touched the ball on 44 occasions. I thought he'd be pushing up into the 80s, 90s.
Yep.
And that's credit to Adam Reynolds. It felt like he was everywhere that entire game, which he was. But once again, credit to Brisbane, because it's not like it sort of felt like the Adam Reynolds show. But when you have a look at that, it really sort of wasn't. There was a lot of guys just playing their role.
Mate, I want to give a massive rap to the Broncos forward pack. I thought, their average experience is like 40 NRL games or something. Matter of fact, Payne Haas, before Kate Will arrived at the club, is their most experienced forward at 68 games. Payne Haas, so he's 20 years old. He is your most experienced forward. That just shows you that this pack is so young and experienced. And like the last thing you want in a pack is youth, really. You want guys with experience to be able to grind through things. Like most forwards don't hit their best form until they're like 25, 26, 27. Their defence, I actually think there was a few players in the outside back that probably let the forwards down a bit. I thought their forwards were they were relentless. Their defence was outrageous. And against a pack, the Rabbitohs pack, that actually hasn't had that many changes compared to their premiership last year, as in getting to the grand final, I thought they were so impressive. Like Paddy Carrigan, for me, he's something special, man. I've been singing his praises for a couple of years now, but sometimes a player can hit a plateau and kind of stay there. He has just gone to a whole nother level. Without Payne Haas, for them to do what they did, like they've got Rabati, he's at 6 games. Ricky's at like 30 games. They've got Jensen, who is a player that, would struggle to get a contract 6 months ago or 3 months ago. He's been fantastic. You've even got like guys like Ryan James who aren't in the side. What do you got there, Matty?
I was going to say, for me, the Broncos won the game in the first 20 or so minutes when South were attacking. And I think Kobe Hetherington stopped Murray from scoring. I think Herbie stopped Tane Mill from scoring, which was,
Kobe Hetherington's tackle on Murray was fucking textbook.
Yeah.
Like, that's that shit that you just go, you put your head in a tough spot and you fucking put your shoulder into it. Whereas, how often do we see players just stick an arm out like that? Cam Murray's no easy feat to tackle like that.
So that's just some examples of the Broncos getting it right and forcing some errors. We know South's error count was terrible, but obviously there was some good force errors there.
Well, I just want to... This is why I'm a bit like, I do believe that the Broncos outside backs probably let the forwards down a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, we still had some incredible performances by the outside backs. But so when you look at this, the starting forward pack for the Brisbane Broncos, the entirety of them, all of them made 0 errors except for 1 from Rabati. Then you go look at their backs. So their entire starting forward pack essentially made 1 error, which is incredible. Then you look at their outside backs. I thought Tamate Martin probably had one of his worst games. He was, made a few errors. He had 3 errors. Corey Oates had 4 errors. Staggs had 3 errors. Herbie Farnworth had 3 errors. So when you add that up, 4, 3, 7, 10, you're looking at 13 errors in the outside backs alone. Now imagine a world where the outside backs, instead of 13 errors, they make 6 errors. The game goes from, 32-12 to fucking...
Yep.
something crazy.
Yep.
So that's what's so impressive about this side, is that the Broncos actually have so much improvement in them. It's crazy.
I can't believe they won this by 20. Like, when you just look stats alone, it is crazy that they won this by so much. Yeah.
It was all attitude. Something we haven't seen in the Broncos for a very long time, where they refuse to give in. If they had lost that game, I would have been happy with it, because I'm like, it's all about the attitude, especially the forward pack. I cannot speak more highly of the forward pack. 1 error when you're defending your line, the amount of times they defended against a pack that was in the grand final last year, I think it's incredible.
I think the error, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the error was just when South had the ball and he stuck his hand out as well.
So you're basically 0 errors. 0 errors. Incredible. I was so proud that I'm lucky enough to have played at the same club that this forward pack that put on this performance. Incredible.
Yeah, and I think, again, back to the old post-contact metre stat, Brisbane with 100 less post-contact metres than the Bunnies shows us not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah.
It must be so reassuring for Broncos fans to see that performance without Payne Haas, because, the pack at times in the past few years, and that have been underwhelming at times, particularly with Payne Haas in or out. For them to do that without him and Capewell, it'd be like, all right, if Haas does go down and miss an extended stint of footy at all, we can win big games without him in our side. He's not everything to our pack. And they've just... been such a frustrating watch in recent years, the Broncos. And I know it's only a relatively short sample size, but their pack have just been so notorious for shit errors, like dumb offloads, just dumb footy.
Inexperienced youth.
Yeah, to see them put that together with effectively no errors across the pack must just be like, all right, we're on the right track. We're growing here.
Absolutely. Like, I cannot express... Matter of fact, their bench, 0 errors. Like, think about that. What an incredible performance by the Broncos forward pack. I just cannot speak more highly of that. Selwyn Cobbo, I think that what's most impressive for me is he had that kind of game with 0 errors. 0 errors. If you got a Selwyn Cobbo with 0 errors in his game, that's a scary, scary prospect. Yep. And I think ever since those 2 games where he had I think it was 11 errors in 2 games, ever since then, he has just improved week on, week in, week out. And when he hit the afterburners, everyone got a look at how athletic this guy is. The speed that he hit for such a big man was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Mate, Selwyn Cobbo for me, if he keeps developing in this direction, we've got something special on hands.
It's wild to think where he's come from this season. Like, to think how poor he was in the first 2 weeks, how poor Staggs was inside him. And Staggs is an experienced player. I knew he'd turn it around eventually, but I was a little bit worried about Cobbo after week 2. And I mean, it's getting to the point now where Cobbo's outplaying Staggs week to week.
Yeah, Cobbo's like their best outside back. I think Corey Oates has been great outside of those errors. But yeah, you could say Selwyn Cobbo's their best outside back. And it shows a lot of mental fortitude. I agree with you. After those 2 games, I was thinking, let's just put him in Q Cup because I see how good he can be. I don't want to ruin his confidence, but he's just blasted through any confidence issues that may have arisen. They just didn't arise. He just killed it the next week. And
I think credit to Kevy too that 2 or 3 weeks ago, testing you went down. He went, okay, who's going to play fullback for me? And I'm sure it would have been tempting to take a confident Selwyn and put him there, but he made the right decision. He's brought Tamari in, who's been good, but I just think it's a really good decision as far as the career goes of Selwyn Cobbo to just leave him out.
Leave him on the wing. Yeah. Get him a whole season.
If Cobbo's the sort of the long-term fullback plan in a couple of years, what's his best position for the next 12 to 18 months?
I'd say wing at the moment, and then basically see how Herbie continues to develop. And the good thing is you can just swap Herbie and Selwyn. Because Herbie needs to be in the side. He needs to be in the side. But Selwyn in centre, getting the ball, I think could be pretty scary. But you know what's great about the Broncos right now is that back line, playing the way they're playing, is a top-tier back line. You don't really need to make many changes. Selwyn Cobbo's getting plenty of ball. He had 20... How many runs did he have? He had, so about 10 runs, and he made nearly 200 metres. Now, obviously, granted, one was that length of the field, but he had 9 tackle breaks, 29 post-contact, 4 tackles, 0 misses. So, look, the Broncos looked incredible. It's just about backing it up. And the good thing is, it's 3 in a row now. 3 in a row. So, regardless of, what's going to happen going forward, they can't look themselves in the mirror and say, oh, we're young, we don't have the ability to do this week in, week out. No, you've shown that you can do it. Now it's a matter of this is the standard now. This is the standard we have to be at.
Yeah, big test this week. Obviously, it's Magic Round, so they do get a home game there against the Manly Seagulls, Friday night.
Huge test. But you know what? I'm confident. Like, I really think that team playing like that with where outside backs making less errors gives Manly a red hot shake. Anyone else? I do think Billy Walters. I think their 9 position probably needs, looking at. Billy Walters was solid. Corey Pace was solid, but I think if we want to take that next level, I wouldn't mind either hoping that they progress further in the next 12 months. If they don't progress further in the next 12 months, I think probably looking at going into the market for a 9. Outside of that, with Selwyn Cobbo at 1. Tamade Martin, move him to 6 if Cobbo goes to 1 next year.
Well, that's out. Like, I look at your side and I go, they haven't worked out 9, they haven't worked out 6. Mate, most teams that haven't worked out their hooker in 6, it's a fucking train wreck.
Yeah, it's a train wreck. Absolute train wreck. And they did it all without Haas, which is such good signs for the club. It's good times for negotiations as well. Like, if they can keep... Obviously, it's one game, we don't get ahead of ourselves. But if they keep playing like this without Haas, it's easier for them to go to Haas and go, look, mate, we can't afford $1 million, but look at the squad you're in. Like, look what we could do and what you could be a part of. There's truly hope there. Whereas, 12 months ago, Fafita's a perfect example. We couldn't keep him because it was like, where's the hope? There's no hope. We're getting towed up every week.
And you look, as you've said a few times, if they are going into the market for a Cam Munster, fuck, it would have been harder to convince him to go there last year.
Yeah, mate.
The state they're in. You know, now that they're just showing some ticker and they can hang in games again. And, you know, they're not back to the Broncos that we all grew up with. But, fuck, they're getting closer to it.
Their attitude is, I think.
Yeah.
Their attitude is. Like, that's what I love. They may not be the Broncos of 2006 and, you know, whatever, but their attitude was they were under the pump. They had no right to win that game. And not only did they win it, they won it by a fair margin. So
Against a good side.
against a great side. And, you know, when you look at their bench, they've got Palacia coming off the bench, Flegler coming off the bench. Like, it really starting to look like a...
Tommy Flegler. Jeez, I love the bloke,
Mate, ever since he come back from suspension, he's been great.
Something like 26 tackles, like 1 miss on the weekend, over 100 metres again in 40 minutes, 3 offloads. He's just... I think he's a gun.
Yeah, he really is. He's starting to find his niche, like where he fits in the side and what he can deliver. Jensen also, he's been one of the best signings of the, not one of the best signings, but one of the most underappreciated signings of the year.
Like, we watched him in a trial and, you know, he was running around in that trial with tradies in the forward pack.
Yeah.
And, like, he looked good.
Yeah.
But he's gone to another level. He's been such a handy little pickup.
So strong. That first 20 minutes, he's so strong. Like, he takes the contact really well. He's good in defence. So, yeah, look, incredible signs for the Broncos. It's just, now it's about keeping that standard. You just got to keep that standard. And how much you're enjoying your footy, we can do that if you keep playing like this. It's really that simple. Rabbitohs, thoughts?
Yeah, disappointing game for South Sydney. As I said, all the stats pointed to them doing better than what they should have done. I think the sign, well, or the reported sign, if it is true, of Cody Nikorima arriving there is going to be an interesting one. I wonder if the coach does look to maybe shake it up in their halves a little bit moving forward. I think he's been really good. From what I've heard, that's what I think is going to happen.
As in like Cody Walker's shake-up?
No, as in the halfback, Ilias.
Really?
Yeah, well, that's just what I've been told, that he's a little bit worried about him getting through the whole season.
I was just going to say, I thought Lachlan Ilias was South's only shining light.
Yeah,
on the
I
weekend.
think Ilias has been fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
And I'm happy. I'm also happy as well. I was going to bring this up later, but bring it up now. I'm happy that he had a good game, because he would have felt so much pressure coming to that, coming up against Reynolds. And yeah, he was the only one that kind of looked like he was going to do anything for South on the weekend. So I'm glad he went good.
A very bizarre time, because a lot of Rabbitohs fans will point to the errors, and don't get me wrong, the errors did hurt them, but they completed more sets than the Broncos. They completed 32 sets, the Broncos completed 24. And so usually I would be sitting here agreeing, the errors, just got to fix them, they'll be sweet. But I am beginning to get a little bit concerned with the Rabbitohs. I just don't know. There's something missing there, and I don't know what it is. Now, they're the team that you're going to have to judge week to week, because we have to remember the Rabbitohs did this last year as well. Maybe not as bad, but there was a period last year where some were saying they're not even going to make the 8. So this is a kind of club they are. They're very hard to judge week in, week out. They could come out next week and towel a team up, and would that surprise anyone? So I just don't know where to go with the Rabbitohs. Like, do you go down the route of this isn't good enough, something needs to change, or do you have faith that this is just who the Rabbitohs are and they'll hit form when they need to?
Fuck, I felt more confident when Wayne was coaching, as far as them just to find form at the right end of the season, which is what Wayne has done for years.
And that's no knock on Demetrio. He's just a
of
rookie.
course not. Yeah, exactly.
I actually think he's done pretty well for a rookie coach.
Very well. And I mean, they won possession, they won the completion rate, they had more runs, more run meters, more post contact, more line breaks. I mean, they had 10 more offloads than Brisbane. There was honestly no reason. They had more forced dropouts. It's crazy how it played out.
Yeah, they got received more penalties. So Broncos
Brisbane made 6 more errors.
Yeah, and Broncos gave 10 penalties away. Rabbitohs only got 6 away. So that's what I mean when you look at that Broncos game. It's super proud, so proud. But it was a mammoth effort from the forward pack that did it. You know, the backs, although they had some really great moments, and it was just, I'm sure they'll sort it out. The backs definitely hurt them, quite substantially. Yep. But we all have bad games. Not that in bad games. I thought Tomato Martin, not a bad game, but I just think that he was a little bit off. The other boys, I actually think Corey Oates has been fantastic. But if you had that backs make the same, the concern I have for the Rabbitohs is this: if the Broncos backs just play solidly, and they don't make those errors, what's the score? What's the score? And that's my concern with the Rabbitohs. What do you reckon, Timmy?
The Bunnies been trying to make sense of why they've been so poor, and we've had a few different things we've spoken about in the halves, new combinations, whatnot. I'm reserving saying that they're in strife until Latrell gets back, because they're really lacking punch out of the back of the field, particularly coming out of their back end. You look, they've got Blake Taff there, who's a little fella, AJ there, who's pretty small, Tane Milne, who's a bit of size on the wing for them, but I just think that they're lacking that punch. So they're starting their sets off not on the front foot like they have the last couple of years, particularly last season. So I think when Latrell comes back and does that, and from tackle 1, tackle 2, if they're winning those first couple of tackles, all of a sudden they're starting their sets and they've got Cookie running off the back of quick play the balls, Cam Murray running off the back of play the balls. Their error rate, you mentioned before, they've got the most errors in the competition. So I think they can resolve that easy enough over time. It's a bit of an attitude thing, but they'll sort that out.
They did last year. As they came into the finals last year, they became like so ruthless.
Yeah.
So ruthless.
So I think they get on top of the error count. Latrell comes back. They're a much better side out of their own half. And I think that just changes the whole dynamic of that Bunny side. In the meantime, again, you sort of look and go, how much time do we have before we're getting towards the business end of the season? But Ilias and Cody, they should click at some point. Easier said than done, isn't it? We need to see it. But I wouldn't be too worried. If Latrell comes back and they start dishing out ordinary performances, then I'm going, all right, there's more to this. There's more issues than we think there is. So.
My key worry is that this was supposed to be South's soft draw, and Latrell's out, so they're trying to get as many wins as they can. But if you look at the draw at the back end of the year, it's a brutal run to the finals.
And top of that is like, without Latrell, they made a grand final last year. So you always want to be progressing. So, but I do agree with you. Is that if Latrell comes back and we're still having this concern, then it's like, oh shit, like something needs to change here. And we have to remember, they took the Storm to the death, with Latrell on that side, like to the death. It took a Ryan Papenhuyzen field goal. So I agree, it's not panic station for the Rabbitohs yet, but you're getting to a point where like it's concerning. Like you're getting to like, we need to fix something here, because if we keep doing this and we start playing, as you said, Matty, that back end of the season, and we're going against like the Eels, the Panthers, all the big dogs, and we haven't sorted out these little kinks, it could be,
Well, mate, you look at the next 3 weeks heading into their bye without Latrell. They go Warriors, Raiders, Tigers.
They need a win every one of
Tigers
those
beat them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, mate, the Warriors played terribly yesterday, but like surely they're going to bounce back to some extent, aren't they? Like I don't think that's going to be an easy game for South Sydney. They're 9th at the moment. If they only win, let's say, one of those next 3 games, which I don't think is an outrageous thing to say, all of a sudden they could be 12th, 13th, waiting for Latrell to come back after a bye.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think they should be able to win all 3 of those matches. They should be able to.
Well, if I can understand them maybe dropping 1, but they shouldn't. They should win at least 2 of those.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But look, it's we're heading into round 10. As I said, you're getting to that stage. Like it's not round 6 anymore, where you're like, fuck that. It really doesn't matter. It's like, oh shit, we're nearly in the middle of the season right now.
Yeah, and I mean, mate, you look at their last 4 weeks. They beat Canterbury, where they scored all their points when there was a sin bin off the field. They then got done by the Tigers. They then beat Manly with 12. Then they get beat by the Broncos when they win just about every stat in the game.
Yeah.
Then you go through the Origin period. They'll lose Latrell there. Campbell Graham could play a bit of Origin.
Cam Murray.
Damien Cook, Cam Murray, Jai Arrow, Chloe Matungi's a chance at Origin. So bloody tough period for them.
Yeah, interesting. I think they'll bounce back. I do think they'll bounce back. But it's just, as I said, starting to go, you're getting past the point of it's early, new combinations into something's just a little bit off. So, look, if they win 3 from 3 in the next 3 weeks, that puts them in great stead. Like if I'm Demetrio, that's my goal. Is like, boys, we've got 3 matches. Let's just win that. We head into the bye. You'll have your time off. By that stage, Troll will be back by then, I'd assume. Hopefully. Then we can move into working towards the finals footy.
They're a funny team. Like we got to the end of round 4 and went, fuck, they got through that well.
Yeah.
Like they're just a little bit off putting it together. Now they got this good run coming. As Matty said before, it's crazy how their season's played out.
Well, again, they're just so hard to predict because let's say the Rabbitohs had their soft draw at the start of the season. would have they been able to build enough confidence to get them through these games? They had such a tough start to the year, arguably the toughest. It's really hard to judge where they really are right now, because you're going, well, they lost Wayne, they lost Reynolds, they lost Dane Gagai, so it's going to take them some time. But now when you lose to like the Broncos, we ask, are the Broncos so much better than we thought they are last year? Like, are they genuinely a top 8 side and that's fair enough that they lost? Or was it the Rabbitohs that played poorly? So I think they'll bounce back. And you're right. We have to remember, any team that loses their main superstar, which is Latrell Mitchell, usually struggles a little bit. Any of the teams outside of the Storm and Penrith usually struggle a little bit. So, like, if the Eels lost Mitchell Moses, I think they would struggle. If the Broncos lost Reynolds, I think they would struggle. So we have to take that into consideration, I think.
If the Raiders lose Matt Frawley, we'll probably struggle.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to take that into consideration. But very disappointing. What are your thoughts about the loss?
Yeah, it was disappointing. But the turning point for me was when it was, I think it was 18-6. South scored 18-12. Thought, great, bit of momentum coming here. We're coming back. And then Totola drops the ball off the kickoff. Yep. Then they give away a penalty on tackle 2 or whatever it was. And then Reynolds kicks a goal. For me, that coupled with having 3 try scoring opportunities in the first 20 minutes and Broncos turning them away, their confidence was just out the window. So, I think Broncos should be really happy with that win. I will say, just on Latrell though, you can't blame injuries, but I feel like Taft probably didn't have his best night under the high ball, and that led to a couple of Brisbane tries. So I feel like Latrell probably would have made a difference, but he wasn't there. So there's no excuse. They had a really off night, South.
Yeah, and also Broncos defence, they were missing Huss and Catewell. So
yeah, exactly.
Interesting times. Now, Raiders versus the Doggies. Interesting game, this one. Obviously, the Raiders get the W. What do you think about this one, Timmy?
Absolutely had a ball. As I said, got down to the game and just loved so many different aspects of it. Not getting ahead of myself, but we know the game for what it was. It was the Raiders' 40-year anniversary. They had a big dinner on Saturday night, so all the old boys were at. It was a massive night for them, and mate, I was just so happy for Matty Frawley. Came to all juniors sort of with and against Matty growing up, and mate, playing under 13s, he was no different a player then to what he is now. He's never been a superstar at all at any level of footy. Just a decent sort of organiser who gets a team around the park. One of the great blokes of the NRL, and he was outstanding. The way he bounced back, he played round 2 or 3 against the Cowboys when he got called up when Schneider was out and had a shocker, the poor bugger. Playing for a contract as well, thereabouts whether or not he gets renewed. And he came out in a struggling Raiders side, and I thought he was outstanding. And it's one of them things where, a bit sentimental, but it's like he'll look back on his career down the track and go, if he plays 10, 12, 13 more NRL games in his career, he'll look back and go, that one night I was the best player on an NRL field by a comfortable margin, I thought. And we're 2 games in, I'm going to mention it again, but the importance of an organising half, which the Raiders have missed all season, Frawley is that. And I thought even without Jackie Whiten, we saw how different a team the Raiders were. They weren't outstanding, but it got them across the line.
Look, I mean, I wrote it in the notes. Frawley 2 repeat sets in the second half. And I just think like that's such a perfect example of like experience. Like it's the second half. They usually fade out. They've got an experienced guy there. Yes, he's not Jonathan Thurston. He's not Andrew Johns. But he gets repeat sets. He builds pressure. What did you think about this game, Gurino?
Yeah, I thought that Canberra, I thought they looked better as a unit, like more organised, but obviously less potent without Jack. Yeah. And like you've been saying it for weeks, I'm a huge Schneider fan, but I think you are right. You sort of need to find the balance of that now. Bringing in an experienced 7 to partner with Jack. I assume Schneider will get 1 more week. Jack's not back this week, is he? No. This week after, yeah. So he'll get 1 more shot. But, mate, I always thought Frawley at Canterbury, I always thought he did really well. He was just a victim of a really shit team at that time. I always thought he was decent. So, yeah, good to see him go down there. Did that try that he scored.
Oh, mate, it's great.
It's unreal.
That was Joey-like. Is that Joey? It's Frawls. I will say, this is a hot take, and I messaged it to you. Guru hates this take. He hates it.
I've warmed to it. I reckon he'll fall off his seat.
You'll hate this take. Wyden at 13. Put Wyden at 13. Because he's still around the ball. He can still ball play a little bit. He can do all the great running, but he doesn't have to worry about any of the kicking or any of the organisation. They won the game without Schneider and Frawley, so like two kind of organising halves to a degree. And, 13 has been a role that they've tossed and turned between. Like, they don't know who they want there. They've got Elliott Whitehead there. They've got Adam Elliott there. They've got Corey Huddle-Naira there. They just don't. They've got Hudson Young there. I think one, if you took him to any other club, I think that you would consider him at 13. Now, look, I know it's a hot take, and I'm not saying I'm 100% sure of this take, but just watching on the weekend, I was like, imagine the potency they would have if Whiten was running 13. It's just a suggestion, people. Just a suggestion. Timmy, what do you think about that?
I like that you got in there at any other club because it won't ever happen at the Raiders. I shouldn't say ever. Just because the way their roster's set up, they're so top heavy, like they're capped towards their forwards. They've got a stack of depth in the back row between CHNs, Adam Elliott, Papali at prop, Ryan Sutton, all these blokes. They're pretty weak in the back line, let's be fair. So it can't really happen there. And at any other club, he could play lock because he's such a versatile player and he'd be fantastic at lock, I guarantee it. He whacks in D. He wouldn't have to overthink things. He'd be fantastic. But I just go back to it. I think you can get the best out of him at a club as an old school ball running 5'8", and you can get him getting these one-on-ones out in the back line against smaller halves and that sort of thing, if there's the right halfback running the show to give him that license. And you mentioned, he's not an organising half, and you don't want him overthinking the game because he gets in his own head and he just stops thinking about running the footy. So I think there's a world where it could happen, and I'd love to see it. But, mate, Origin, that's why he's the perfect 14 for Origin because he can come on and play 13 and that could happen this year if he's there 14.
I think Victor Radley. I think Jackie White and Victor Radley. Like, Jackie Whiten would have as good ball skills as Victor Radley. He's probably faster than Victor. Victor's probably, bigger, a bit bigger, I'd say. I don't know. I think it'd be worth considering if I'm Ricky. Because at the moment, you got the win, but let's say they lose a few more games. I think it's just worth considering because that way you get your two organising 6s and 7s to just run the game, kick really well, and Jackie Whiten's just injecting himself wherever he wants to, which is what he does best, is just ball run. And he can kick if he wants to too. If he wants to kick, he can kick. Again, just throwing it out there. But I just thought when I was watching on the weekend, they looked better as a unit. They just looked more organised. They looked like they knew where they were getting to on the field, where they were kicking. And that's not to say Whiten can't do that. And maybe it was Frawley that added that to it. But I just think you got to when you're in a position where the Raiders are in, you just got to try things sometimes to see if it works. And with the modern game, I think Whiten suits 13 really well. What do you reckon about that hot take?
I certainly wasn't prepared for that hot take. So I
heard you laugh. Jesus Christ.
I don't really have much of an answer. I will say though, would his kicking be affected? Because I reckon his left foot is quite
massive. But he can
underrated.
just call that play. You could just call that play.
True.
Red set.
One of the Whiten's best ever plays was in Origin 2019 when he played centre for the first time. And he come on the field, it was like tackle 4 or something. And he just put a kick in because he saw Ponga wasn't back yet. And then he just went up and absolutely crunched him.
Yep.
So I reckon as long as he's kicking, I don't really know. I don't know the ins and outs. So I don't know if I could say that he'd be good there. But I don't know. I just think because we've got to remember the Raiders, they did win on the weekend, but they had 30 minutes of ball attacking the Bulldogs and they couldn't score. I personally thought they were missing Whiten a little bit at 6.
Yeah. Interesting. Again, it's just posing a question, people, so don't think I'm actually saying I think he should definitely be 13. But I just watching the weekend, I was like, is it worth considering? Is it worth considering him at 13? Because you could do all that stuff still. He could still kick. He could still do all of that, but he'd have even more freedom. Think about Jackie in the middle there doing whatever he wants. Instead of having to stick to one edge or, ball playing. So even when Fogarty comes back, if you went Fogarty, Frawley, Dingo at 13. But anyway, pose a question. Let me know in the comment section if that's even a consideration. Again, it's just a question. It's not saying that I actually think he's going to be best there. I will say, if Frawley keeps playing like that and you put him at 7, I think that probably does unlock Whiten a fair bit.
Oath it does.
So it will be really interesting. And I do agree, if Whiten was playing 6 and they played exactly the way they played on the weekend, I do think Whiten probably scores a couple of tries.
Do you think that, do you think he will go with Frawley at 7 or will he stick with the youth experiment? It seems so obvious to me
to be honest, I think Ricky's panicking a little bit this year with a few of his selections. And we've seen that in instances such as Schiller getting picked ahead of Croker in the early stage of the season, then even Valimi.
Chance as well getting dropped after a lot.
Chance getting dropped, Valamai getting picked over Croak for a number of rounds there. So, yeah, it's interesting to see going forward. But I would be very disappointed if Matty Frawley gets dropped when Jackie White comes back, having seen what they've just done, what Frawls has done for them. So, obviously this week will be a big one. Schneids will need to step up and you know, Frawls needs to deliver 2 good games in a row, but I think the Raiders going backwards if they don't keep Frawls there when Jackie gets back.
Yeah, look, and I've actually been really impressed with Schneider. It's just, I just think that maybe an extra year in New South Wales Cup will do him really well, doing really good, because it's just certain selection sometimes, and also like when the game's in the balance, has he earned the right to tell the boys like, nah, I want the ball here or there.
He's not the fit right now.
But I do believe long term, absolutely, he can be the guy.
Yeah.
I just think where the club is, right now, if you had brought him into like 2019 Raiders, I think he actually plays much better than he's playing now. I just think the club right now is so desperate to a leader in that core position that right now you're asking too much of a guy that is really good. Like, I think he's silky as. I just think that. Yeah.
But this is why they went and signed George Williams. This is why they went and signed Fogarty. Like, it's the sort of personnel they need in that jersey. How was
chatting about last week about what we thought Croker would bring to that side and experience-wise. And he's getting the scans on his shoulder today to see how severe the damage is to it. And hopefully it's nothing too bad, but let's say, you know, worst case scenario, you know, Croker's played his last NRL game. What a way to go out and summing up his career. First game back after playing the whole season in New South Wales Cup. 2 minutes to go, kick him behind the line, Dufty in for all money. Who's flying across the field from out of position to knock that ball and save the try? Yep. If he's not there, no one else is doing that. They score. All of a sudden, the Raiders are defending a set after their second half woes, and they're panicking, and God knows what could have happened. That influence of him through the whole game, but that last play just summed him up for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so often we get so caught up in the flashy centre that's big and strong and can offload. The amount of times Croker has done that throughout his career, it is. Honestly, you couldn't count them. Even like I had the Hello Sport boys on last week, and it was all just a joke. Like, and now we're talking about my highlights compared to say Croker's highlights, and obviously Croker's would be way longer. But it's just, I think a lot of fans don't really appreciate what he brings to the game every single week, and also how many times he's won the game for the Raiders, like tries on the buzzer or close to the buzzer. And I thought that his calmness and just the ability to take runs at certain times they look like a different side. They really look like a different side. I hope his shoulder's okay. Man, I hope his shoulder's okay. I was like to see him go out like that, but you're right. It's almost bittersweet poetry because that's Jared Croker. That is Jared Croker. He has done that his whole career where when you need a big play, whether it's defence or attack, he puts his body on the line to get that job done. So hopefully wishing him all the best. I thought Kotrick was really good. I think he's slowly growing back into the player that he was before he went to the Doggies. I thought great try twist from Charles Nickel-Hockstad. I hope they keep him there now. I don't know why you would go away from CNK. Like, CNK to me seems like the player, like he's going to find form eventually. He's not going to stay struggling for too long because he cares too much for that to happen. So yeah, great win for the Raiders. Great win for the Raiders. And I think that, you know, you spoke about it last week, Timmy, bringing experience in, that's what they needed. They just needed experience. Yes, it's the Doggies, understand, but a win's a win. A win is a win. Now, on to the Doggies. What do you guys think?
I thought they were so good last week against the Roosters. I was really hoping that Canterbury had sort of turned a corner here. And look, I thought it was a good win for Canberra, but I didn't think Canberra were exceptional. I was a little bit disappointed in Canterbury, but I guess this is part of their journey to some extent. But yeah, I don't know. I think I probably overhyped Canterbury in my head off the back of a really good win last week. I thought they'd come out and have a really good performance here. It wasn't a bad performance, but I expected more out of them.
Yeah, I'll start with the positives. Burton's best game by far.
Yep.
By a million miles. But just the errors, man. Holy. In crucial times too. Completion rate 69%. It's hard because it was the Raiders just much better than they usually are, or were the Doggies flat from their win last week.
Yeah, I look at the Canberra Raiders, and you could probably talk more about it to me. I mean, I just worked it out then. They average about 13 errors per game. They only had 8 the other day. Like, it's such a like that turn of 4 or 5 sets is just massive. And I look at Canterbury, and they had to do a lot of work in the first half. So at halftime, they had 39% possession. They had to make 85 more tackles. They ran for 400 less metres. I think the Raiders had 25 tackles in their red zone to Canterbury's 0. They were only down by 10 points at halftime. So
they did well to be in the game.
They did well to be in it, yeah. But maybe you're right. Maybe last week did just take a little bit more out of them than what I anticipated. But I thought they were the better side by a bit last week against the Chooks.
Yeah, absolutely. A few lucky calls kept the Chooks in the game. Yeah, look, the Doggies, really interesting. I don't know where to go with the Doggies. I think that they're kind of in a holding pattern until they get Reid Marnie, until they get kick out, because that's just such a different side when they get there. The good thing is they didn't leak that many points. They barely had the ball for long periods of time, especially in that first half. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is at the Doggies. I really don't know. What do you reckon, Timmy?
They're kind of just has a loose time frame. They're maybe like 12 months sort of behind where Brisbane are, where they're starting to show signs of life with that win against the Roosters the other week, and they've had some good moments this season. But we just, you want to see them sort of stringing these consistent performances together, like we're now seeing with Brisbane going 3 on the trot and going, all right, hopefully this time next year we're seeing the Dogs go 3 on the trot. They're just lacking a bit of polish with ball in hand when they're attacking the opposition line, 10, 20 out. They're getting there, but combinations are slowly coming together. As you said, we've mentioned a little bit about them being that holding pattern, waiting and getting through to next year. But, the reality is their roster's okay, it's building, but they're not playing top 8 footy. They're not playing finals footy this year, more than likely, barring a massive resurgence. They're just still a bit sloppy attacking the line for me.
Yeah, and also, like, if you're a team that like the Doggies at the moment, you just have to complete high. Like, they are one team where, and I know you could say, well, last year they completed, I think, some of the best completion in the comp, but they've got more attacking weapons this year. Yep. So, like, if they would complete it the same way they were last year, I think that they do get the points. And I think Burton proved that on the weekend with his line breaks, proved that they've got enough, and they've got Addo-Carr as well, who's a great finisher. So the 14 errors, just too much. When you're that low, you're just not going to win any games like that.
Especially off the back of that Chooks victory. Like, I looked at their next 3 weeks and thought, just this good win against the Roosters, it could quite easily turn into 2 or 3 on the trot. Like, they had Canberra, they played Newcastle next week, into the Tigers the week after. Like, for me, that was 4 games that I thought, fuck, there's a world here where they could win 4 on the trot and really start to get some momentum heading into their bye. But to lose that one on the weekends.
Like, they haven't scored over 16 points this season, which is not doom and gloom, don't get me wrong. And no one expected them to come out this year with a bit of a new look roster and start putting 30 points on teams, but it shows a lack of attacking edge at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. And look, when you complete only 23 sets the entire game, you're giving yourself barely any chance to win. When you're already struggling to score points, and then you're reducing the amount of opportunities you do get to score it, so... Look, the positive with the Doggies are there's absolutely progression from last year and the year before. Like, they're absolutely a better side, and they're getting more people in. They've got Gus Gould, obviously, with heaps of pull. They had their win last week. So, although really disappointing for Doggies fans, the thing was it's down in Canberra for 1. It was only 14-4. Could have easily been, if Croker doesn't make that big play, could have easily been 14-10. Very different game then. So, although disappointing, at least they're progressing. And
I think the other thing with Canberra you need to consider is that, it was round 9 on the weekend. The Raiders are the first team they've played this season that aren't in the top 8 right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
Yeah, so, like, when we looked at Canterbury's start, their draw at the start of the season, there was a tough enough games, but you went, they've got the Cowboys, they've got the Broncos.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they've played the Broncos twice, they've played the Cowboys once, and those 2 teams are now top 8 sides.
And both times they played the Broncos, first was a really close match. They could have won. Second, for 60 minutes of the game, they were in that game.
Yep.
So I don't know if, like, it sucks because they're sitting 15th right now. But I don't think, like, it's not unfair, but it doesn't really reflect their season, in my opinion. Like, I actually think that they've shown probably some better footy than the Titans, arguably even the Raiders at times. You know, so, yeah, look, disappointing loss, but they're improving. They're absolutely improving.
They're heading in the right direction.
Absolutely. And to see, the thing that stood out the most for me is Burton playing really well, because the only way this club gets out of what they're in is if Burton is playing good footy. And for him to come out and play, you know, so what I think it was like 180 metres or something like that. I'll just get it up here quickly. He's the key. So he got a try, 140 metres, 11 tackle breaks, 14 tackles, only one miss, a line break, 482 kick metres. He's the key. No errors. And Burton has had a few errors in the last few weeks. So if he can just find some form, everything off the back of that will come. It'll come. So,
I mean, like, on the bright side, they have conceded 26 points in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They were conceding 26 points and a half last year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Matt Duffy frustrates me so much because there is such a talented footballer in there. Like, some of the stuff he does on the field.
Yeah.
But for every good thing he does something mind-blowing. You're just like, where has this come from? Like, that's not New South Wales Cup standard. Just little things, just like intercept ball on the weekend. When Matty Frawley went through from the line, I don't think Matty Frawley even done it. I think he lifted his hands and Duffy was gone and just bit away from him in that. Yeah. He's like, is he 1 year contract, Duffy?
He's fighting for a contract at the moment.
You can clip this one up. If he ends up in the Super League next year, he'll be man of steel, because you see the blokes that go over there, like little quick fellas that love a bit of open space running. Jai Field, who couldn't get a start in the NRL, is carving up the moment.
Yeah.
Matt Duffy, if he went over there, would absolutely kill it. So we'll see what happens, but if they can get the errors out of his game, and we've been saying it for a long time now with Duffy, I don't know if you can get them out of his game, but geez, if he could click it and just get himself sorted out.
Because sometimes as you watch him play, even when he was at the Dragons, he had like 5 tries this one game or something along those lines.
Whenever they win, he was the best player on the field.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. Who do they put it? Let's say they don't re-sign him. Who do they put at fullback?
I'd be looking at Avarillo, personally.
Solid ball player, good ball runner, strong. Avarillo, you reckon?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him play a position that I think he's suited to. He'd be my pick. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say move Fox back there. I'm not.
No, I'm not. I don't like that.
I don't like
Jaden Campbell.
Yeah, you go after him for sure. Absolutely. Like Jaden Campbell for me, if I'm trying to recruit, a fullback that has a ceiling that is literally whatever it wants to be, he's the guy. Get him for relatively cheap. Nikorima has been signed by the Rabbitohs effective immediately, and he has a player option in his favour for 2023. So I'd assume it must be like he must be on minimum then if it's a player option, and he's maybe hoping to play some good footy and then get a decent contract the year after. Thoughts on that one, gentlemen?
I think it's worth having. I don't think any team is worse off having Nikorima in your squad. A guy that can jump into 7, 6, 9, jump in at 1 if you were super desperate. I think it's just worth having. I look at that South Sydney side, and if something was to happen to Cody Walker during the season, at least Nikorima brings a bit of X factor. You can chuck him in there. Damien Cook's going to disappear for a few months to play State of Origin, so to have Nikorima in the squad, I think, as I said, I don't think any team's worse off having Nikorima in there. 30.
I will say Jackson Paulo has been on the bench the last 2 weeks for South and hasn't got even a minute. So I reckon he'll be a very good 14 option.
Would you go here, like when Latrell returns in a month, do you go Taff or Nikorima?
Nikorima.
Yeah.
At least give him a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's a great signing for the Rabbitohs. Bit of experience, never hurts, and also at the very minimum, he's a great 14. Yeah. A great 14.
It was only 10 weeks ago. I thought he was the best player on the field in the All Stars.
Yeah, so great signing. Well done, Rabbitohs. Now Panthers v the Eels. Oh man, that was the standard of that game compared to other games was like Origin compared to club. Like that's how intense this game was. I knew the Eels were going to come out strong, but I didn't think they were going to come out this strong. I actually think that the Panthers just great standards is what kept them in this game because the Eels I thought were the better team for most of the competition, most of the match. What do you think about this one, Timmy?
Geez, it was just a bloody good game of footy, wasn't it? So enjoyable to watch. You get a few rubbish ones here and there. It just delivered on the hype going into it. There was a bit of concern Para coming off that Cowboys hiding the week before, and I thought they were always going to get up for this. Winning was maybe a little bit of a stretch, but we spoke about last week how concerned we were for Parramatta, and not as a top 4 or top 6 club, but the fact that we put them in having title credentials on them this year, and this is what we needed to see, wasn't it? It was like stepping up against the big boys in Penrith. Great game of footy, and kudos to Para.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 2 teams that have only lost 1 game this year, Penrith and Melbourne. They've both lost to the Parramatta Eels, so credit to them.
Yeah, that's why I believe that the Eels, although they have a tendency to, they go in and out of the season, but the fact that they have beaten Melbourne and the Panthers
Away
says to me that, it almost doesn't matter how bad they play, they still have a chance. They still have a chance because they're the only team that's done that. No other team has come close to even doing that.
Can I ask? So obviously now any doubts of Parramatta being a top 4 team are gone. They're definitely potentially a top 4 team. Why do they play so good against the good teams when they can play so horribly against the lower teams?
Mate, it's just their forward pack, when they turn up and they're keen to play, they're as good as anyone. But if they don't play that dominant, aggressive style, they don't have option B. Yep. Whereas the Penrith Panthers, Storm, they've got option B, C and D. Whereas I think the Eels, because they're on the cusp of that top tier, they're still trying to find that, okay, how else, if Paulo, RCG aren't completely shooting out of line, killing blokes, how do we play our footy? So it's always just a matter of do they turn up aggressive and energised? If they do, then they're very hard to beat.
I thought credit to Parramatta because Penrith scored their first try in the 4th minute.
Yeah.
Penrith come out and score in the first 4 minutes. You're going, oh, fuck, here we go. At home, they're going to run a train through us. They then got given the try later to Taylor May, which shouldn't have been a try because of the kick-out knock-on. So it was another thing. There was 2 moments there where, the reality is the Penrith Panthers are so good that if they get a try that goes their way off a bad call, that's over.
Yeah.
They're near impossible to beat as it is if something goes their way like that.
Yeah.
I thought Parramatta was... I thought Gutho, mate, I picked him in my team of the week. I thought he was so good.
Yeah.
Some of the things he did. You've got there the kick and chase out of dummy half. That was a huge play. The try that he set up for Ryan Madison, where he sort of he played through the line, he held it up. That was such good ball play. It's something that I've always wondered if Gutho's sort of got it in him to be able to ball play like that. Madison off the bench, fuck.
He is playing some good footy.
Good.
Wow. And I think he's off contract. I'm pretty sure he's off contract. So, oh man, if he is just... I can't believe he's not starting. And maybe he suits their setup better, the impact that he brings is really good.
Yeah, he's off contract.
He's off contract.
To be fair, if he did start on the edge, I don't know if they would have won that game because he was so immense through the middle.
Yeah.
I would start him every day of the week, but I thought he was so good on the weekend. He's the sort of guy that I'm looking at him now going, fuck, he looks more Origin ready now that he's coming off the bench than what he probably did when he was playing.
He's definitely a smoky for a bench spot because I think in Origin he would kill it, but it's just, again, they're so stacked. New South Wales are so stacked. Yeah, look, the Eels looked amazing. I think Brown being put back to 6, just you could see the way they played just much better with him at 6. He's so important to them because he just offers that extra weapon that keeps the defence on their toes. Whereas when you have, a guy that isn't Brown, it's just all we need to focus on is Moses. We just need to get him off his game and they're done. They're done. Whereas when Brown's there, it's we don't know who's getting the ball. Brown's short side raids are so good and he has improved so much. I mean, we always knew he was good. We've been singing his praises at the start of the season. But his attack, it's all just confidence. I feel like he's had this attack in him for years. It's just a matter of him realising how good he is and going, I want the ball. I'm going to get, give me the ball, Reedy. Don't give Moses the ball. Overcalls, all that kind of stuff. So, look, the Eels, I think they're the real deal this year. I truly believe that there's 2 teams. It's the Storm and Penrith. They're at the tippity top. But the only other team at the moment that is going to challenge them right now is the Eels for a premiership right now. It could change towards the end of the year. I thought Gutho was incredible. I thought Benzini was really good. Bolo, I mean, Junior Bolo is just he's been delivering this high-quality footy for so long. We forget, he was at the Raiders. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if he was still at the Raiders.
Forgotten, have you?
Forgotten losing him. Yeah, I forget.
Oh, did he play for the Raiders? Thanks, mate.
You know, so and he, ever since he's come to Eels, like, what's the thing that Bolo has that like a lot of other forwards don't have is he can go toe to toe physically with any forward in the comp, but also his silky hands are
just go toe to toe with any 7 as well.
Like, it is just incredible. His ability to ball play, footwork, but then also if you find me the most aggressive forward in the comp, I can get Bolo to match him. You find me the best ball player forward in the comp, Bolo will be better. Like, I think he's probably got the silkiest hands of any front rower in the game. His footwork also up there with guys like Papali'i, as in Josh Papali'i's for front rowers. Yeah, Bolo is just so good. He's the heart of their pack. Like, he's the heart and soul, and he just offers such a difference. Like, if you're defending him, you don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to run a line that's as hard as any front rower, or is he going to step? Is he going to ball play? So also his defense was really good. So I just thought it was an incredible game. Like, just a really, really good game. Who else for the Eels?
I thought Papali'i once again.
Yeah, once again.
He's a freak. I had a look at his stats from last year and then compared to this year. He's better this year.
Yeah, he actually is better this year, which is crazy to think.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Anything else with the Eels?
Just on Paulo, I think the one big thing that probably goes overlooked with him is it's his ability to do it in big minutes. Like, if Paraloos numbs in their pack and he has to play extra minutes, he delivers like 65 minutes of just quality footy the whole time. His endurance is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, if he had to play 80 minutes in a game, he's probably the biggest bloke out there, and his quality every minute of that game. You know, look at the Storm guys like Nelson Sofa-Solomona, who's one of the best front rowers in the game, but, you know, he'll play off the bench and play 40 minutes or whatever. Paulo, huge minutes.
Yeah, 61 minutes he played on the weekend. In a game that intense. Like, it's just unheard of. You do not see big boys like that do that kind of stuff. Papali'i, 186 metres, 22 runs, 48 tackles, only 3 misses, 9 tackle breaks, a line break. I thought Nathan Brown was really good too.
Yep.
He's so good at momentum shifting. Like, they're under the pump, then Brown takes it off the back fence, and he just takes that. He may not bend the line, crazy, but it's enough to break the set open and get momentum back on the Eagles side.
His really good hit-ups are the ones where he wedges into the A and the markers.
Yep.
Then they just get on the front foot, and then they start to roll. And it's a hit-up that you won't get post-contact meters, you won't get huge stats from it, but it pays dividends 2 tackles later when they're rolling.
Let me read you Brown's stats. A try, 121 metres, 51 post-contact, 5 tackle breaks, 28 tackles, 0 misses. Mate, when are we seeing halves making 28 tackles and missing 0? He is just... I tell you what, the Eels, I hope they're negotiating now, because if he continues doing this, he's going to go straight up to 800K, like, if he keeps playing like this.
NRL.com have Dylan Brown as 28 tackles, no miss, no ineffective, but his efficiency was only 99.96. So I'm not sure where they got that from.
Yeah, fucking hell. Give him 100, Jesus. And that's nothing. No ineffective tackles, like, Jesus. Another stat, which is crazy, Mitchell Moses, 754 metres kicked.
Holy shit.
I will say, I thought he was kicking was a little bit off, though. Like, he wasn't finding grass very often. But after, when I was, like, writing my notes, I was like, I think Moses' kicking game's a little bit off. But then, like, when I thought about the game as a whole, I was like, no, you know what? Like, yeah, he wasn't finding grass, but it was just getting into that grind that he was doing really well, where he wasn't overthinking things, he wasn't overcomplicating things, except for that one play. There's 5 minutes to go. They're up, and it's a second tackle, and he goes for that play with Benzini, and I was like, bro, it's a second play. All you need to do is keep the ball down this end. Outside of that, I thought Mitchell Moses was fantastic. As a 754 kicking metres, crazy. 19 kicks. 19 kicks. Look, the Eels are the real deal. They're the real deal. I think Reid Marnie is having the best year of his career. I think his service, I think his importance to that team is absolutely mammoth. He made 49 tackles with only 1 miss on the weekend. 3 of them were one-on-one. And I just think that he's so important because his service, he always picks the right person to pass to. Very rarely does Reid Marnie make the wrong choice and go the wrong way. He's choosing to go down short sides. He's getting more confident. His defense is getting so much better than what it was. Yeah, look, they're the real deal. They're the real deal. The Eels.
I think with Reed, we spoke about it a few weeks ago. Don't outthink the room. Just put him on for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Just let him go. He's an 80-minute 9. And it just allows them to be a bit more versatile with their forward pack as well. Yeah, very, very impressive from Parramatta.
Now, the Panthers. What do you think about this? Api Koroso had a massive game. 2 try assists, 58 tackles, 48 run meters. I thought Cleary was a little bit quiet, if I'm being honest. I didn't think he had his better games. Their outside backs were outstanding. This is their outside backs run meters. Dylan Edwards, 259. To'o, 266. Tungo, 108. Crichton, 129. Taylor May, 192.
To'o, 266 on return.
And he's returned early too, isn't he?
In a loss.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Not a massive difference, but on the opposite end. He's played his whole career.
Far out. Absolutely. And obviously on the opposite side of the field as well. Yeah, this was an interesting one. I just didn't think they had the same attacking prowess as they usually do. They didn't seem to be stripping the Eels of numbers as much as we thought they would. I don't think it was a bad game by any stretch. I do think that if you look at last week's game against the Titans, that you probably could have predicted this may have happened if you were, I guess, really confident in the way you back things. Like, if you watch that Titans game, for 60 minutes, they were really poor, and it was just Cleary's kicking game that got them through that. And I think they've come out against the Eels, and they definitely... The thing is with the Panthers is what makes them great is even when they're not playing well, they still play good. And I still think they had a quality game. I just think that the Eels, they were more desperate after the few losses they've had, whereas it's very hard. The Penrith Panthers, they have literally gone 2 years in a row, winning 8 in a row to start the year. Very hard to get up for huge, huge matches when you're, you're just at a high level all the time. And I honestly just think that was the difference. The Eels had a poor game the week before, and then the week before that, or a couple of weeks before that, they played poor. And they had a group of 17 men that were desperate to have a good game, whereas the Panthers were more business as usual, which is fucking great business, but they're just that little extra bit. We've got to talk about it, though. We'll try and be quick. That knock-on. How they didn't see that knock-on, I can, for the life of me. What I don't get, and we'll try to be quick on this because we don't want to bag the refs too much, but what I'm not understanding is we use the bunker for so much all the time. Why? Let's say we give the benefit of the doubt to the 2 touchies and the ref. He missed it. Fair enough. That's human nature. Like, he might have been looking somewhere else, and they were all looking somewhere else, which is okay, whatever. We use the bunker for everything. How the bunker couldn't, in just a split second when that ball went down, just replay it quickly and go into the ref's ear, knock on, because it's a clear knock on. Now, I'm sure someone's going to leave in the comment section, the bunker can't rule on knock-ons or something along those lines. I'm sure there's some, because if there's not, that's crazy. Like, as in, if there is not a real reason why they didn't call it. But in a situation where it's so obvious, on top of that, they had so much, like, the next play the ball wasn't for like 15 seconds or like 10 seconds. So they had time to look at it and go, oi, that was a knock on. Got to be better, because the Eels could have lost that game all because of such an obvious knock. Like, no one's hands were even on the ball. That's what I'm not getting. Like, no one was even around the ball. How did they miss that? What do you think about the knock on, boys?
I mean, if you're going to see them in games go back 3 and 4 players to penalise late shots or whatever,
put people on report. No?
Yeah, it just seems bizarre. And mate, thankfully it didn't cost Parramatta a win that they thoroughly deserved. I mean, I almost feel like I've heard more about the trainer running in front of the goalpost than I have this play, which is batshit crazy.
Crazy. Bizarre. This trainer running in front of the goalpost, how we're even talking about that in a game where literally a bloke knocked it on and everyone could see, is insane to me. I know people make mistakes, but that to me is just so glaringly a poor error. How do you fix that kind of stuff? Because I honestly think that the bunker over the last couple of weeks and the refs, their performances haven't been the best. And I hate to say that because they've got the worst jobs in the world. They get no love for when they play really well. And we have to respect our refs because they do a thankless job. But I just think if we're going to judge players' performances, we should judge ref performances. And I think over the last few weeks, it's been pretty rough, I'm being honest. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, mate, I mean, it's hard to add too much to it. It was an absolute stinker of a decision. Could have had, was going to say catastrophic implications. That's possibly a little bit dramatic for a game of footy. But as I said, Parramatta got the win. So fortunately, we don't have to be too upset about it. But it's a shocker, and hopefully something like that doesn't decide a game down the track, and bigger games probably more importantly. But mate, it's hard to add too much.
Mate, tough. What do you think about that?
I can't add much, but I think the best part about it was Thurston blowing up after it.
That was great.
That was so funny.
And he's right. He's 100% right.
100%. I will say as well, and you guys might disagree, but I think it kind of evened up with the Dylan Brown obstruction in
Which one?
the try that Panthers got disallowed.
Which one are you? Dylan Brown obstruction. But he nearly got there to the tackle though, didn't he?
Yeah, but didn't he get there? Like he got obstructed.
But he would have got there earlier to make a better decision.
But don't you think he got there and then made a poor decision?
The time he had to make that decision was less. Whereas if he gets there earlier, it changes everything because that the attacking player everyone's in a different position. If he gets there earlier, everyone's in a different position. So it's the fact that it changed first of all, it cut down his time to make the choice, but also everything would have been different. So I can understand that.
I think what he's saying though, it's tough because if he makes that tackle, they don't get a penalty, right? Like,
sorry, what?
Like, I thought I was talking to a cardboard cutout then. If Dylan Brown would have made that tackle, they don't get a penalty. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
like it's play on and everything. Yeah. So yeah, but I think it was the right call by the book.
Yeah, I thought that was absolute. Like, there's some obstruction calls that are a joke and they need to be better. Where it's like it has no effect on the play. Like for example, the Cowboys one. Yep. Was the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was clear that was a defensive decision. Like, so clear, so clear. Whereas the Dylan Brown one, I understand, yes, he ended up getting there. But, for example, as he gets there, he gets stepped on the inside, correct?
Yeah.
So, it's much harder for me, if I'm running towards someone, to step back and tackle someone. Whereas if I'm already standing there, it's much easier for me to go left or right. So, that's an example of where maybe he wouldn't have made the tackle, but it was harder for him to make the tackle because he's running into the area where the person is. So for him to run in and then step back out whilst Toto is coming, that's much harder than I'm already standing stationary in that position and I can go right or left. Much harder to step someone that's standing there, can go either way. How often do we see when a bloke makes a break and a fullback is chasing across and he gets stepped back on the inside? If that fullback was already in that position and the guy makes a break, much harder to step back on the inside because the player's body is square. So yeah, I thought that was a penalty. Look, you could argue the Reid Marnie one. I thought that was a penalty try too because if he didn't have a hold of him, he would have had more momentum and he missed the try line by like a centimetre. Like literally a centimetre. Matter of fact, it was a professional foul. Like,
it should have been.
It was a professional foul. So regardless, he was either going to the bin for 10 or was a try. But yeah, anyway, back to the Penrith Panthers. Yeah, look, it is what it is. It's not in any way concerning. They still put it on a great performance. Even when they weren't at their best, they were still really fucking good. Nothing to worry about.
I think one of the commentators mentioned, I agree, I think they missed Scotty Sorensen coming off the bench.
Yeah, his impact for sure.
Yeah, his impact, he's been huge the last few weeks. So, yeah, look, I don't want to take anything away from Parramatta's performance because I thought they were the better team. But I just think the reality is with Penrith, you can't be up and $1 million every single week.
And they've been, not every single week, they've been up for years now. Literal years. And that's why I mean, like, the desperation of the Eels. Like, put it this way, if Penrith had the same desperation of the Eels, Penrith probably win the game. But because they're, and maybe they, not probably, maybe they win the game. Because I agree with you, I don't want to take away from the Eels win. It was absolutely magnificent.
This could be a dumb question as well, but do you think that the fact that they've now ended that streak of 3 years of losing at home and now they've ended the streak to start the year 8 in a row relieves a little bit of pressure? They can just now get on with their job? Or do you reckon that doesn't make a difference at all?
You're not really pressure. I think it's more just like giving them a reason to fight, like giving them a reason next week to come out and go, we don't ever want to feel that again. Whereas like sometimes you can get used to winning so much, it's very hard to find a reason. Like think about it. They're in the middle of the year. They're 100% going to make finals footy. They're 100% going to be in the top 4 unless something crazy happens. Where's the motivation come from? They've already won a premiership. So the motivation comes from losses. It comes from feeling that pain after a loss. So that's what I think will happen with them. Outside of that, good to see Toto back at his barnstorming best. Holy shit, he's good. Dylan Edwards, fuck, he had a good game. like if Gutho wasn't as good as he was, Dylan Edwards was, one of the best players on the field. I just think that the quality work he gets through when he's constant danger, he's just such a good footy player. Fuck, he's good. No longer is he underrated. Like, he's genuine top 5 fullback for me. Genuine top 5.
At the end of this game, the first thing I thought was, fuck, how good Penrith is going to come off a loss to play Melbourne.
Oh, mate.
Pappy gets ruled out, which hurts it a little bit, but that is going to be unreal.
It is going to be fireworks. Fireworks. So now on to the next game. Manly v the Tigers. My first note is I don't agree with the no try Tigers, but I can't remember what the fucking try was.
Yeah, it's helpful. I don't remember it either.
Yeah, neither. I'll look it up.
I think it's obstruction, maybe? Maybe it's obstruction.
Probably a good
Anyway, great try. What about Ben Travojevic? How good was he? Played the back row. He was the best Travojevic on the field. What did you guys think about the Manly-Tigers game?
Yeah, I mean, just as Naburbo took after the game too, like he genuinely thought he was playing centre until an hour or so before Olukwatu ruled out. I'm not sure what with, but pretty big shoes to fill there, especially with the way that Manly play. And I thought he did an incredible job. Couple of defensive things that still needs to sort out, but he's young. That'll come.
I will say, that 10 in the bin, I thought that was outrageous. And maybe I'm wrong because I missed like a couple minutes. And I know that they said that there was a lot of penalties, but I thought that 10 in the bin was super harsh. What did you guys think?
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I know. I'm trying to remember Udakamanu because it changed the whole game.
Yeah. There's a knock
what happened
on.
Again?
There's a knock on, a scrum.
Yeah.
Then they were offside. So as in they were offside off the scrum.
Yeah.
And then, so they get called 6 again, and then Ikamanu just lays on the player because it's already 6 again.
Yeah.
Gets sent for 10.
Yeah, so it's a repeat penalty sort of one.
But like, it was a penalty. Like, we see this happen in every game. If you give a 6 again away, then just lie on them because it's a 6 again anyway. Yeah. It doesn't impact the play at all because it's already a 6 again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
10 in the bin.
Those penalties they give away, or 6 against they give away, which is nearly every time a team's defending a scrum in their own 20, where they just fly up off the line because they're like, stuff it, it's one tackle, we'll give it away and nullify an attacking opportunity. I think refs would hate that because they're like, it's effectively a professional foul. Like they're getting off the line early on purpose, they're giving away a penalty on purpose, but it's not severe enough to send to the bin for professional foul. So, maybe that's the ref just going in the back of his mind, that pissed me off, there's been repeated penalties, someone's going to go for this. That might be a bit dramatic, but it's... 10
in the bin for that? I couldn't believe
the impact that had on that game, like... I think Tigers fans can take a lot out of that game, just
totally
like
agree.
they could the Dragons lost the week before.
Totally agree.
They were in that up to their necks, up into that sin bin.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
It was 4-0 until the sin bin.
Yeah.
It was 10-0 during that time. From the sin bin onwards, it was 22-all.
Yeah. Yeah. Two tries while Udakamanu was off the field, who was also a fresh bloke who'd been on the field for about 2 minutes. So that hurts as well. The Tigers... Oh, God, I'd take a lot out of their last 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Mate, they look like a side that, basically they have an identity. Like they're coming out and they're ripping and tearing for each other. They look like a different side. I think you got to also remember that for me, when I look at the West Tigers the last 4 weeks, the most impressive thing has been their right edge. They went into this game without Leilua, without Nofaluma. So to do it, I thought it was very impressive. And I spoke a few weeks ago about the impact that sin bins have, not only in the 10 minutes, but the time after. I think there was one team out of like 25 that had won or drawn that period after. The Tigers were 22-all after that. Yeah. At Brookvale with Turbo. Mate, I think Tigers fans should be super happy with that performance. Super happy. To go 10 in the bin and, they were in that game towards the end there, yes, the Manly scored a couple of tries, but they were in the game. I think the Tigers fans should be super, super proud. Now, I can understand the argument of fans that say, regarding the 10 in the bin, they'd given away something like 6 or 7 repeat sets, and that's where it came from. But when you actually look at the penalties towards the end of the game, and maybe the 10 in the bin is what stopped the Tigers from laying in the ruck, I'm not sure. But when you look at the infringement, so the Manly had 3, 7, 10 infringement, discipline, and Tigers had 9, 3, so 14. So basically, 13. So only 3 more. Do you know what I mean? So if the end result is only have 3 more penalties, are they really that much worse lying in the ruck? I don't think so. I thought that 10 in the bin was too harsh, but I can understand people that said there was a bunch of 6 agains early on in the game, and it was to stop Tigers from laying in the ruck. So I can respect that angle on it. I just think it was a little bit harsh.
Also, Stefano had only been on the field for, I think it was 2 minutes.
And he's a key player.
Yeah. So he probably wasn't even on the field for the first infringement when they got the warning. I just looked it up. The no try was when Rabbitohs ran behind Alex Seyfarth and then passed it to the winger.
Yeah.
And scored in the corner. That was the no try.
But the guy had no impact on the play though, did he?
Yeah, but he slightly ran, caught the ball behind him and then
he caught it on his inside
shoulder. Yeah,
it's cut and dry.
I remember it now. See, I think with that, let's use common sense. They got through the line. Stafford Cole was 10 metres behind him. It literally didn't affect anything. I understand the cut and dry. I understand it. And I understand the negative effects it can have if you start using common sense, because then there's a grey area and then all of a sudden, ones get put tries and one's not. So I get it. It's just when I see that, I'm like, man, come on. It had no effect on the play. It was just purely timing. It wasn't, no one's shoulder got hit. No one's run got checked in the slightest. But yeah.
It's frustrating one, isn't it? But it's if they awarded it and they're common sense, all the footy fans go, new beauty, good result.
Yeah.
They're then going, well, the one last week was a no try, it was in the shoulder, and then there's just no consistency.
It's a slippery slope. I get it.
It's annoying, but you have to.
I totally get it. I just, the obstruction one for me is one of those ones where I personally would use common sense, but I get the slippery slope that exists, and I understand the NRL going, you know what, let's just avoid all of that shit. If you run behind your player, that's it. I just think sometimes though, you're it's a footy game. Bodies are in certain areas, sometimes when they give a penalty away and a player is he can't move. Where's he? He's just got to disappear. Anyway, but yeah, look, great performance by the Tigers. I really think that I think they're building something pretty good. And you know what? Can they make a push to the 8 this year? I don't think it's that crazy to think anymore. I really don't. I'm not saying they will, but if you had said to me 4 weeks ago, I said these guys are destined for the spoon. Now I'm going, you know what? They really can challenge for the 8. They may not make it, but they're looking better and better each week. I don't think any player has had more of an impact on a team's performance. Maybe Reynolds outside of Hastings. Well, Reynolds, Hastings and Townsend probably. Hastings has changed that side. They look like a different side. And what's crazy is it's all 7. So Hines, Reynolds, Townsend and Hastings all are 7s.
It is crazy, but it also isn't at the same time. It's very impressive the impact they've had. I think with Jacko, it's yes, he's improved their football, but it's he's improved the DNA of the Tigers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a different club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally believe, and I've spoken about this before, it's because he's Madge's guy. So you need a player in the team that's a leader to push the values that the coach wants. It's very hard for a coach to have no one on his side trying to push these values. It's like Townsend. Townsend is Peyton's guy. Reynolds is Walter's guy. Yeah. Hines is Fitzgibbon's guy. Very hard if you don't have a guy representing. It's almost like a rat in a crew. It's a bad term, but you know what I'm saying. You've got a rat in the crew where he's going to push what you need to be pushed and give you the feedback you need to be given. It's the connection between the playing group and the coach that is important, and I think all of them represent that so much.
Ricky Stewart tells a story that when he arrived at the Roosters in 2002, he went to have a beer with Freddie and said to him, "You're the first guy I'm going to get stuck into." Send a message. And he sort of said, I never had the opportunity to get stuck into Freddie because he did everything I said the entire time. And all the other players brought in because Freddie had brought in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just want to massive condolences. This is this is serious. This is sad. Alex Toll missed his first tackle in 3 weeks. Woo! Gotchas, you motherfuckers. You thought it was something serious, didn't you?
Yeah.
Woo! That's 1-0 to me. But it is sad. Alex Toll misses his first tackle, but he absolutely ripped and teared. 23 tackles, only 1 miss. 130 metres, 56 post contact.
Mate, when something sad does happen, I don't know how you're going to be more sincere than that.
I thought Alex Toll was good. I thought Peachy was good in the centres. 1 or 2 reads that weren't great. Another guy I want to give a massive shout out, Joe Gowie. I think he's been great. Yeah. I think he's been really good since moving to that 13 role. 102 metres, 14 runs, 6 tackle breaks, a line break, 39 tackles, only 2 misses. I think he's been great. I think Obviously, Hastings has been really good with 149 metres. Like, his running game is crazy. We have to remember as well, Tigers, they lost Ken Mamalo really early. They lost another player too, didn't they? They obviously lost Stefan, but they lost another player too, didn't they? Anyway, so they battled through it. So look, Tigers fans, I'd be super proud. Yes, it's 2 losses in a row, but it's nowhere near the losses that you were having last year.
Without taking anything away from Joe's performance, how on earth is that a try? How can you get the ball from dummy half?
Oh my goodness!
And burrow into the legs of the guy that plays the ball?
Absolutely,
we're calling
not
obstructions because you're running slightly behind guys that are 5 minutes in front of you. It's like having a shield.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
They didn't even look at it.
Yeah.
Thomas McKaylee played 7 minutes. He went off. I think he was concussion as well.
Yes, that's the guy that went off.
I can't believe they did not go upstairs.
If it was 16 all, they go upstairs for 100%.
Yeah. Sometimes I think like the current state of the match affects calls.
Yeah, dictates.
If they want it to it's not an active. They're not actively thinking about it, but I do think like subconsciously they're kind of like, we want to make this entertaining. I've got no evidence of that, but I do think like, for example, like certain things that when the game's locked in the balance, it's 16 all, there's a minute to go. Certain things get let go that wouldn't get let go in the first minute, and I just think that's natural human nature.
But you are feeding ammo for Manly fans in 3 weeks' time when Lachlan Croker does the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a close game. He doesn't get it. It's
for sure.
Tough. Yeah.
I thought Luke Garner was pretty solid, especially in attack. That try was great, and I was like, "Is this a sign of things to come with the Panthers? If they can find the best in him, who knows?" Tigers fans, I think they desperately need Dane Laurie back though.
Yeah.
Desperate.
Massive for them. We touched on last week just the support play when they busted the line against the Dragons. They missed him again so much, but I'm glad you touched on Garner because it's easy for him to run the field and say, Luke Garner's playing good footy, but before he did that, like since he's come into centre the last 3-4 weeks, I think he came in against the Sharkies when they got a few put on them, but how good they've been the last month. Garner's been at centre, playing out of position the whole time. He's been so effective, doing such a good job defensively for them, and not missing a beat in attack. He's been awesome.
I think that there's a reason why the Penrith signed him.
Yep.
I think you can almost guarantee if Storm or Penrith sign a player, there's something about them that we're not seeing.
Yep.
Like, look at Nick Meaney. How fucking good has Nick Meaney been? It's just amazing. Coates. Anyway. Now, on to Manly. You know what's crazy is quiet game from Tom Trbojevic. A try assist, 230 metres, 64 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, offload 3, line break assist 1, 5 tackles, only 1 miss. Look, Manly look good. They look really good. They look better with Josh Aloiai back. I think Ethan Bullimore has been actually really good since he's gotten down to Manly, and every opportunity he's gotten, I think he's taken it. I think Manly are building nicely. What do you guys think?
Well, we were talking about it before show. Like, as good as Turbo was, he's not 100%.
Nah, I don't think so.
He's not moving
the same way.
Yeah, so there's even more in him there. You take out those 2 edge back rowers that are they're just about worth a try each game, realistically.
So Schuster and Olakau'atu are out, and they're still playing the way they're playing. It's good signs.
Very good signs.
What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, that's good we mentioned. Tommy Turbo, last year when he was fit and firing, was just gliding across the park. He's not. He's punching out those numbers, and I reckon he looks underdone. So that adding in Olakau'atu, Schuster back in there, geez, they're building towards something good again after a slow start to the season. I hate rapping blokes who already have all the raps in the world on them, but Tolatau Koolart just looks so good, and we know he's quick. We know he's got a good step on him and a bit of a fend and an offload. Defensively, for his age, he's so strong.
Yeah,
he gets these one-on-ones and just whacks blokes, hits sticks and just sits them on their ass.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at the attack. Defense is every bit as important, and he's so cool.
Well, he's shored up that edge. He's shored up his edge, and he's so young. And yeah, he has a tendency to shoot out of line, Guru. I know we spoke about that on the weekend. But he nails it 9 times out of 10. There might be one that he misses or whatever, but fuck, if you're a rookie nailing it 9 times out of 10, that's enough for me. His try that he set up, far out. People don't understand, to have a footwork like that to beat that many people, there's minimal, like maybe 5 players in the NRL that have footwork like that and speed like that. There's a half break he made down the side, except down the side. Little Luke Brooks fucking mowed. I don't think he mowed him down. I think he had the angle on him. Cooler is special.
I was watching that on KO and it froze with the ball in Cooler's hand, and he had 5 Tigers defenders in front of him. It jumped back on about 15 seconds later, and DC's running away, putting the ball down. I'm like, what the fuck is just happened?
Yeah, mate, that try, the footwork to go like back in, then out again, and then obviously pass as well. He's just X factor. He is X factor.
Yeah, there's not many guys. You reminded me in that moment, like Brett Mullins used to do shit like that. Like where it looked like the guys around him would just be stopped in slow motion. It was incredible. And mate, the pass inside was a cracker too.
That's what I mean. Like that pass was not an easy pass. DC, he competes on everything. He had no right to be backing up like that. Like that's usually the fullback's role, or not to say Tommy doesn't work hard, but like DC is always there. Tell me a break that's made and DC isn't there. He must be super, super fit. Great win from Manly. Christian Tuipulotu. I got a lot of people messaged me showing me how to say that. Actually, I won't get it up. So I'm going to try to learn it, but Tuipulotu. Anyway, I think he's really, really good, man. The try score was great. I think he's kind of, because Cooler is like the name and we all get excited for him and rightly so. But I think Christian's been outstanding. He's the one that's kept the spot in the side over all this time. I think he's got even, a lot to offer. So, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 119 metres. Mate, the Manly are looking good. Imagine this side when they get Schuster and Olakau'atu back. It's a scary side.
Yeah, you mentioned him at the start. Josh Aloiai is he's their best middle forward.
That try scored was a beast mode.
Oh, mate,
and you could tell, when he left the Tigers, I actually spoke to him about it. And he was pretty gutted how the whole situation came about. And I think people, if more people knew what actually happened in that scenario, they would be much more, sympathetic to Josh Aloiai, because it wasn't as simple as, put it this way, the contract he signed with Manly wasn't even bigger than the contract he was offered the Tigers. So it wasn't about money. And that was the kind of narrative that was shifted about. It wasn't about that at all. There was a lot more to that. And I think it showed on the weekend how much he wanted to have a good game to just show them, I feel like I deserve to be treated a little bit better, because that try scored, that was pure effort.
Yeah.
Pure effort.
Shout out to Morgan Harper too. Made a return after a pretty poor game a few weeks ago. They got spoken about a heap, and I thought he held his own.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy I want to talk about who has just been flying under the radar this year is the schnack Ruben Garrick. He has been so good this year, and just he doesn't get spoken about the amount as like some other wingers. But how about this for a knock? 2 tries, 141 metres, 55 post contact, 12 tackle breaks. Have you heard anyone talk about Garrick's 12 tackle breaks? Have you? 12 tackle breaks, and no one's spoken about it. It's incredible. 2 line breaks, 4 tackles, only 1 miss. Goal kicking was, I think his goal kicking was a little bit off, but he's usually really good. I think Ruben Garrick is one of the most underrated wingers in the comp.
It's so easy to be overshadowed in a team like Manly by Tommy Turbo and DC and these sort of blokes, but Garrick has become such a reliable and dependable player for Desi Hasler on the wing. He's a terrific finisher. He doesn't make mistakes. He shifts to fullback when Tommy Turbo's out. He's unreal under the high ball. He's decent last man defence.
Yep.
He's a coach's dream at the moment, isn't he?
He is, and he's not going to break the bank. He is. I said it a couple of weeks ago. He's a winger that you keep at your club for the next 10 years because he puts points on the board. He puts points on the board, and he's solid. He gets through all his work. He's a great defender, as you said, mate. I honestly think I really, really appreciate a guy like Ruben. We have to remember he was nearly a top try scorer last year. And a lot of people thought, it's Tom Trbojevic, and rightly so. A lot of it was Tom Trbojevic. But, Tommy's been out for the last few weeks, and Ruben was back at fullback playing some really good footy. So, mate, I really rate Ruben, and I think he's such a chill dude that he'll probably go his whole career not being appreciated as much as he should. I think if if he was not such a chill dude and was like on Fox getting interviewed all the time, I think he probably would be appreciated more.
Well, I mean, I think it just shows the fact that he's not at the Dragons anymore. Like he's a Gerringong kid. Like he's a proper local junior there that didn't want to leave.
Yeah, got brushed.
Appreciated, and look at what he's done over at Manly.
Mate, he's I'm a massive fan of Garrick, the way he looks and the way he plays. I think we've got all through all that. Anything else on the Manly you want to talk about?
Just Benny Trebojevic being the devil's advocate a little bit. Serious future in the game, obviously. He was unreal on the weekend. Very raw in defence still. He got caught out a few times there. The Joe O try, which was the one where he darted from dummy half. So, again, I don't think it was a try anyway. But the edge where... Who was it? What have my notes got here? Tuolangi went straight through, and Burbo just bit to his side. He went straight through this massive hole. I think Campbell Graham stood him up a couple of times the week before. All fine, mate. He's a young bloke. He's had a handful of games, but a lot of work to be done on his defence.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Mate, he's switched on enough, from what I can gather, that he'll be right.
It's his last name that just people expect him to be more complete than he is when this is his first game ever starting, pretty sure.
Yeah, and mate, he's come through the junior grades, absolutely killing it as well.
He started in one game, but not at centre. So it's his first game at centre.
First starting game. Well, he didn't start at centre. He started in the back row.
Yeah,
but he was named at centre. But anyway, I think his last name is just going to put so much pressure on him when we have to just take a step back. Look what he did in attack, which was incredible. So good in attack. The defence will come. Just got to be patient. But I agree with you, though. It is a part of his game that he'll have to work through. It's like anyone. I mean, Pappenhuisen, he had to work through parts of his game, and look where he is now. Now, Roosters, Titans. Titans. What's going on? We've spoken about them a little bit, so we won't spend too long on them. But
I mean... Yeah, at the end of the day, I think they scored 16 points. 2 of those tries came off rebounded kicks or knock-ons and in goals. So not overly impressive from the Titans. In saying that, I thought they put in a huge effort against Penrith the week before. It was always going to be tough to back that up. But, yeah, I mean, this is who the Titans are, though. It's going to take time. I'm just repeating myself week in, week out on the Titans, unfortunately. But yeah, a disappointing one here for them to concede 44. As I said, mate, it was 24-16 with 20 to go. They lost the last 20 minutes 20-0.
Yeah. Coupled with that as well, like the back end of the game was shocking, but the back end of the first half was just as bad. Yeah. Especially, which try was it? Takiahu's try.
Yeah. It was, and mate, you also consider the Roosters had Collins off the field for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, look, this is the dangers of a young side, going with a young spine, putting your faith in it. You just got to keep the faith. You just got to keep the faith. What do you reckon?
Sorry, Timmy. No Titan forward over 100 run meters. No player over 50 post contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Running meters they're not bending the line, the pack, and they don't look like they're going to bend the line, to be fair. So, I mean, say what you want about the back line and probably not performing as well in attack as we've seen in previous years when they've been this flamboyant outfit. If the middles aren't going forward, it's the oldest cliche, it's not a cliche in footy, but, the backs can't do anything. The halves can't play off the back of that. One bloke that I thought was pretty good in an underwhelming forward pack was Herman Sasa, who... I've always quite liked Herman as a footballer.
Same. I've always been surprised that he's never
gets
on.
gig. Yeah.
So he played 23 minutes on the weekend for 68 metres. And I just thought he was flying to the line every time. He's nimble enough for a big fella to have a bit of late footwork. And I'd love to see them get a few more minutes into him and see if that can sort of just help the go forward a little.
Yeah, I think their forward pack, I don't know. I think Fotuaika is, when he's on, he's fantastic. He really is. Isaac Liu is also really good, but I don't know. I don't know whether it's the errors from the backs that are hurting them or their forward pack just isn't bending the line enough. I'm really not sure. I do think, around, it's tough because is it Sexton not getting them around the park or is it, the 9 not really giving good service? And I don't know what the key issue is, but I do think with the Titans, they're young. Just got to be patient because look what the Broncos are beginning to become, and sometimes you need to take a step back to take a step forward. And although we were just admonishing the Titans for letting go of Fogarty, that doesn't mean that we don't think that this team can't go on to be really, really good. And I think with Foran in it, like, for example, if Foran plays for the Titans against the Roosters, I actually think it's a much closer game. I just think Sexton seems to be a little bit down on confidence right now. And, you know, Will Smith, he's more of a utility. It's very hard for Will Smith to come into a side and, you know, basically just lead it around. He's been a utility his whole career.
It just feels like to me, and, you know, I like the Foran signing, as we said, but I remember at the start of the season going, okay, they're going with youth. This is where they're going to end up. They're going this way. Now that there's a few losses, it's like, oh, Campbell's not in the team. We're signing another 5'8" from another club. It just feels like they're sort of starting to fold to a little bit of pressure, which is what we were worried about.
What do you make of this quote at the end of the game by Holbrook? We got beaten everywhere. Attitude, enthusiasm, and execution. We obviously need to make some personnel changes. We can't accept what we dished up tonight.
Yeah, it's tough though. Like, who do you change?
Kevin Proctor had 3 runs in 60 minutes. And you talk about who do you change, that's the concern, because outside of Dave Fafita, they've got no one coming back. Like, they've got 2 lengthy injuries, I think, to sort of blokes outside their top 17. So, you know, they don't really have excuses in that regard, do they? How do you change it up? We've spoken at Campbell plenty. They've got Philip Sammy on the bench, but their blokes have both been in the side already this year. So, well, yeah, which way do you go?
I will say, though, like, you know, for people that were just crucifying Fafita, like, clearly he is not the issue. Like, you know, Fafita actually has got him out of trouble quite a few times. And I think this match really showed, like, Fafita would have been a godsend this match, because he would have actually been able to bend the line, break a few things open for them. So, yeah, you never want to say, you never want the team to lose by the way they lost and then be like, see, you do need Fafita, and he is actually offering much more than you think. But that is the reality.
I think this would have been a really good game to have Fafita at 13.
Yeah,
as you said the other day, like, this is where it would have been really handy just to have a guy like him.
Absolutely. And so the one positive is with the David Fafita situation. I think if he plays, they're a much better side, and I think it hopefully will put to bed this, let's just blame Fafita for everything. It's all Fafita's fault. He's on too much money, but just want to echo what you said. I still think young side, let's just stick together, stick with the plan, stick with the process. It'll come good, whether it's this year or next year. Roosters. Really interesting reports coming out about Angus Crichton. So reportedly it's come out he hasn't re-signed, and also that he may be being requested to take a pay cut. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd be pretty dirty if I was Angus.
I would be
very dirty.
Filthy. And this is all reportedly, so we don't know. But what is interesting is the fact that he hasn't re-signed, and it was like, what, 3 or 4 months ago that he had already come out and said, it's all done and dusted, we're just going to get over the line.
That's what I was going to say. I made a post up for you saying he's re-signed. I'll just text you when it's official, and that was 4 months ago, and it never actually got done. So it's quite a weird one.
It is. Yeah, it's interesting because if you're not re-signed, you're not re-signed. You know what I mean? Like, if a club hasn't re-signed you, no matter what they say to you verbally, there's clearly something holding it up. I'm just trying to get up the report that talks about his contract.
They should be trying to sew him up.
Reports last season that Roosters back row had re-signed on a 2-year deal are false. He does not currently have a registered extension and is now reportedly being asked to take a pay cut due to the arrival of Brandon Smith. That's all reportedly, but it makes sense. Makes sense. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. You look at the mouths to feed there financially, and being a relatively top-ended roster in terms of these. They have their 4 or 5 big money players in. They've got Tedesco there who'd be on a stack. Luke Keary would be on a heap. Brandon Smith coming in to be on a heap. Crichton would be on a heap. You know, something's got to give somewhere. They've got pretty decent back row depth at the Roosters. You know, Nat Butcher's been quite good this year. Tupanua.
See,
you can't keep everyone.
But I kind of feel like Crichton's the most consistent out of all their back rowers.
Yeah, he's a premium.
He's the best
row,
for sure. But he's also would be on probably 400k more than these other blokes, or 300k more. So,
mate, it's an interesting one. If it is the case, what club should go after Angus Crichton?
Every club.
Every club.
Yeah.
Every club.
All of the clubs. The Titans.
Oh, mate, they could use a Crichton. Could use a Crichton.
They would use some punch on the edge and just. Oh God, he'd be perfect for.
Fafita on one edge, Crichton on the other, or you put Fafita at 13, or whatever you do, mate. Interesting though. It's You know what it does though? It shows you how ruthless this business is. Because 6 months ago, he was being told basically, yep, deal's there, mate. You know, all good. Like I think Politis even came out and kind of said like, yep, it's all good, rah. Fast forward, now all of a sudden it's like the deal's not done and I don't have a contract. So he's off contract for next year.
Yeah.
Angus Crichton is off contract. And so like he has showed faith in the Roosters by being patient, not going on the market, listening to them. And then all of a sudden they've turned around and said, mate, we need you to take a pay cut. It shows you how ruthless this business is. No one, and you know, no one's going to, that's the thing that like a lot of the footy community aren't aware of. It's like no one's going to remember the fact that Angus Crichton has been loyal to them by not going on the market and saying, and trusting them and going, okay, the deal's there. Yep, the deal's there. And then by the time he could have had 6 months of negotiations, now all of a sudden, a lot of caps wouldn't have as much space in it. And so he's in a position where, actually maybe there's options that are off the table for me because I wasn't negotiating for the last 6 months. Again, all reportedly, if this isn't the case, then I apologise. But if it is the case, pretty rough gig.
I'll throw a hypothetical at you. If, given the Dolphins have already signed a lot of forwards, none to the calibre of Crichton, but if you were the Dolphins, what would you throw at Angus Crichton?
You see, you got Kafusi, you got Bromwich. I wouldn't. It's just bang for buck. You know, unless you're going to put him at 13. I probably wouldn't even bother.
I don't think it's a good fit considering their squad already. Melbourne. I know we say it for every player that comes up, but if there's one spot, you know, you just mentioned all the guys the Dolphins have got, the amount of back rowers they've signed from Melbourne.
Well, they got Tarek Sims down there now. Tell you what, Tarek Sims, Angus Crichton. Could you imagine Crichton in a Melbourne Storm jersey? He would like, oh my God.
I reckon there's a world where they play Sims as a middle.
Off the bench or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So
I can see that too. Yeah, look, interesting times. I hope he stays with the Roosters. I don't know. There's something about Crichton and Roosters. It just seems right. So I hope he stays, but wow. Yeah. Fuck, that's just so ruthless.
I think the Roosters would be backing to some extent. I think Angus, he's got enjoys his lifestyle.
Yeah.
In the eastern suburbs, I think that they've helped him launch his charity over the last few years.
Yeah,
as well.
it's a good point.
There are. I think there's a few more moving pieces in this than what it seems.
I do think that he's the kind of guy that Roosters will repay that loyalty. Like, if he does stay loyal and takes a pay cut, he's the kind of guy that he's like an Orbo to a degree, like where, you know, the Roosters would have so much time for Orbo, and I'd assume the same would be for Crichton. But yeah, interesting.
And mate, you might even find that if he's not going to be at the Roosters, the biggest threat might be the Waratahs. They were stinging to let him go as a junior.
Yep. And I tell you what, in Union, he could get a fucking monster deal.
Lives in the same area. Not much would really change for Angus.
See, but if I was Angus, I'd be going over to France or whatever. He would get a monster deal in France because his high school highlights in Union are crazy. Yep. Crazy. And he would kill it in Union.
So
he would kill it.
Inside or outside centre, hey?
Yeah. Number 12,
And they would say to him, there's a Wallabies jersey.
Yeah,
Yours.
guaranteed.
He'd walk into it.
When's the World Cup? Is it next year?
23.
23.
I think it's,
Damn.
Mate, they made a big play for him about 3 or 4 years ago too. I think it was just before he signed with the Chook. So, and you talk to any Union people and they reckon he's he was the best.
Think about it. Think about the style of how he plays with that real good line running. He would kill it in Union. I mean, he did kill it in Union. So interesting time for the Roosters. I really test, you know, he's already won a premiership. So really test it. Now, to the Roosters' performance, interesting thing about this one is like they actually didn't play that great. Like they didn't play anywhere near the way they could. But I think the positive is for the Roosters is this is the old Roosters that we've known the last few years where even when they don't play well, they just put a bunch of points on you. I thought Teddy was outstanding. I thought Manu was really good. I think Suwali just continues to grow as a player. He takes a lot of tough carries, obviously scored those 2 tries. Good signs for the Roosters. I think it was Kiri's best game of the year. So I think it was a good sign for the Roosters. What do you guys think?
It felt like Kiri's team again.
Yeah.
Which, there's been a bit of confusion to me, and you pointed it out probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, about who really owns this team. I was having a look at the receipts in this game, and Kiri was at 50, Walker was at 18.
Yeah, wow. Which is probably what it should be. You know,
and you need to keep in mind that Walker spent, I think, 10 minutes off the field, but still, 50 to 18 is that is how it should be. Kiri's a 3-time premiership winner.
Yeah, and also like he's the 7. He's setting everything up. Walker's the tip of the spear. You know, you want him getting the ball in good ball, not in shit ball. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I touched on it last week that I just really wanted to see that happen. So good to see it come to fruition. I'm sure Trent Robinson was listening to the podcast during the week.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Kiri taking more control. They look like a better side. Sammy played a little bit more direct off the back of Kiri, and it was really good to see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. They were flattered by a pretty ordinary Titans outfit. That edge of Greg Marju was just chopped to bits, like so easily. But again, they can only beat what's put in front of them, can't they? I still have a little bit of a concern that coming up against better sides, like Teddy was jumping into first receiver quite a bit, which, you know, he scored 3 tries. It's hard to knock and say it didn't work. But against better sides, I think you're going to see him and Kiri and Sammy Walker stepping on each other's toes a little bit again. So, as I said, I think they got away with it against the Titans, but yeah, they're on the right track saying, Kiri, mate, your team, run the show, and they're good signs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, you got to build from somewhere. And I think this is exactly the win the Roosters needed. So, yeah, when you look at their side, man, like, think about like Suwali, the hype he had a year or two ago. Now he's playing first grade and you're not really hearing that much about it, but I think he's been playing some really good footy. This kid's 18 years old. Think about any other kid that was 18 years old that had 2 tries, 145 metres, 43 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks and an offload. We'd be going, fuck, this kid is special. Whereas
he was a toe away from scoring the match winner last week too.
Yep. Yeah, literally. I think Suwali's been really good on the wing, and it's a scary prospect. Tupou and Suwali on the wings, kicking to them. You're just sitting there going, fuck.
Jesus.
Like, that catch from Corey Thompson was outrageous. It's one of the best I've ever seen, where he goes up with one hand, hits it, and then lands with it. But, yeah, look, Daniel Tupou, he continues to deliver another 2 tries. Yeah, I just think that this was a good example of, like, boys, this is how we need to play. Kiri needs to run us around the field, and then we get into good position. That's when we let Sam Walker do his thing. Because, yeah, I also think we need to remember, like, Kiri's coming back from ACL. Like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. And he's, like, 30 years old or so now, or 29.
Given they've been mucked around with hookers at the start of this year, which could be a contribution to why they didn't start so well, how do you see this Sam Verrills collarbone injury affecting him?
Well, I think Connor Watson is coming back soonish, which is
around 10 this week.
Yeah. So that should help. But yeah, that's another thing we have to remember. They haven't had a 9 that's, you know, their go-to 9, and Jake Friend was their 9 for like 10 years. I think that the Roosters, because they're so good, they don't get enough. They don't get cut enough slack for how many players they've lost in key positions. And I still believe they're going to make a late run. This Angus Crichton situation, though, going to be real interesting, because Roosters don't play that negotiation game. Like, they don't allow, if you want to go, like, they'll just fucking bomb, ruthless. So going to be very interesting. If you had to bet, Crichton stays or leaves?
I'll say stays.
Yeah, stays.
I'll say stays, but I reckon what does contribute to him maybe leaving is that he kind of has been shifted and mucked around a bit. Like, he's changed sides and he's started a few games off the bench. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, that could be something.
He played early in the season. I could not make sense of it. And now it's starting to maybe, as Matty said, add up a little bit. Played 36 minutes against the Bunnies in round 3, his old club. 35 minutes off the bench in round 4, 52 in round 5. All right, he's back to 80 minutes now. But they were things there where you're just going like, what's wrong? Like, this doesn't add up, does it? So look, it might have nothing to do with it, but it was odd, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely odd. What's interesting is that when he came to the club, he was a big signing, but they actually played him through the middle there, and he was struggling a bit for form. But I think Trent Robinson was playing him through the middle just to harden him up a little bit, and that's why the Fafita thing as well. I think that, you know, playing him through the middle, just get him through all that work, and just it would be a good foundation for the rest of his career. But I agree with you. I was shocked when he was coming off the bench, because I'm like, this is the best back row in the comp last year. If not the best, top 3 for sure.
I think it's more of a reflection on the Roosters pack this year, though, than Angus, for me, anyway.
Yeah, I think he's been good, though, even when he has played. Like, for example, this week, 128 metres, 59 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, 33 tackles, 0 misses, 2 offloads. Like, that's a fucking great knock. Great knock. So interesting times. I mean, I say it every week, but I still believe, I think Trent's tinkering. Like, I still believe he's unsure as to what is his best 17 going forward. Now, on to the next game. Cowboys Knights. Holy moly. That first try against Dearden was 100% double movement. Jesus. But I guess then, that call against them, the obstruction, maybe that evens it out then. Sometimes you get good calls, sometimes you get bad calls. Mate, the Cowboys look legit. I thought that they were patient. Even when the game was kind of in the balance, they stayed patient. They didn't go away from anything. They played exactly the way you would hope Chad Townsend would play, which is like, don't allow the fact that, oh shit, the Knights are still hanging in this, And then eventually the points would come, and the points did come. What do you think about this game, Timmy?
Yeah, we harp on about the halves at the Cowboys for good reason. And I love how consciously they're playing direct into the line. Like they go there and they might start like slowly crabbing across field, and it's like you see a light go on in their mind and go, I'm crabbing or whatever, and they just straighten up. Defender ties in, they go whack out the back every single time, and just the outside backs having a field day, particularly Scotty Drinkwater off the back of it. It's awesome.
Mate, he is so fucking silky. Fuck, he's silky. Like the way he moves across the park, and he just everything lands for him. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Drinky's just all class. He's just the cherry on top that they've sort of needed. But I was thinking at the end of this game, just thinking remember at the end of round 2 we went, fuck, are the Cowboys the real deal and the Knights the real deal? And if you would have said to me then which team's going to keep going, I probably would have said Newcastle.
Yeah.
But fuck, it's been a real tale of two different seasons, hasn't it? The way that these two
they're
teams
sitting third.
It's
10 rounds. Third. That's incredible. Incredible.
And I have people say, they haven't played a good team yet. It's like, okay, well, Parramatta's beat Melbourne and Penrith. They got absolutely slapped by North Queensland a couple of weeks ago. And, I look at the Cowboys and I go, okay, they haven't played a heap of top sides, but all the stats point to them being a gun side. And every time I watch them, they're playing good footy.
Yeah.
They're not just beating up on shit teams. They're playing genuine good footy.
Absolutely. And, all that is kicking the can down the road, because at the start of the year, we all knew their draw. We all knew their draw at the start of the year, and a lot of people had them as spoon or close to spoon. The fact that they're doing this to the teams that are bottom 8, let's say every team they've played is bottom 8. They're dominating these teams. They're currently sitting third. No one would have thought that before the start of the season. So all you're basically saying is the standards I had at the start of the year, I'm going to change them to suit my argument, which is the Cowboys aren't good. Your expectation of where they are has changed. Why has it changed, though? It's because they're playing well. That's why your expectation has changed. I think the Cowboys are being great. And look, does it mean they're going to win a premiership this year? This year, sorry, probably not. But I tell you what, they're building towards something pretty nice. They've got a really young pack. Even McLean is playing some of his best footy he's played in years. Cotter is young. Nanai is young. Taumalolo is still in 26, 27. They've got Lumi... Helium Lukey off the bench. They're a youngish side. I think the key difference, with the Cowboys, and a lot of teams will have this, but the Cowboys for me especially, is their spine has no ego. And I think that when you watch them, you kind of alluded to it too, they're all working for each other. They're not going, I want to get to here, or I want a line break, or I want to have the big play. They're all playing their role to make the other player be the best they can be. And guess who pushes that? It's Chad Townsend. That's the player he's always been, is how can I make everyone around me better? Because Dearden and Chad Townsend, they're truly playing, the synergy of the way they play is almost perfect. And then you got Scotty Drinkwater, again, the synergy with him, Townsend and Dearden, almost perfect. And Robson's been great for the last few weeks. I was a bit concerned about Robson. Would he continue when he came in the grade, we knew he was really good, had a good future. I think Robson, since Peyton's taken over, and this year especially, his pass selection is improving each week. His defence is improving. Mate, I think the Cowboys are the real deal. I think that if they don't play finals footy, that's a massive, massive disappointing season for them.
And I think a big thing with Robson is too that, and I went into this season, saying to you, talking about Ruben Cotter going, if they play him at 13, because they might play him at 9, they might play him here. I think it's just been great by Todd just to say to Robson, you're the 9. Yeah. It's your jersey. We're not going to fuck around with anyone else. You're the jersey, gets more reps. And he's improved. I couldn't believe when the Dragons let him go a couple of years ago, and it's taken him a little bit longer than what I thought it would. But he is looking classy at the moment.
Yep. And what's good about the Cowboys' spine is it seems locked down now. You've got Robson, you've got Dearden, got Townsend, and you got Drinkwater. Boom. You can have literally that spine for minimum the next 4 years. That's a scary thing to think. Like, keeping a spine together, it's the hardest thing in fucking rugby league. And if they can do that, yeah.
And how quickly that spine has gelled. Like, we allude to all the last few weeks, we've alluded to how long it takes for spines to genuinely get together and work out how to play on the same level. Mate, they got a new 6 this year, a new 7. Scotty Drinkwater played all his footy last year at 6. So at 1, there's another new member of the spine. It's a completely new spine, and they're humming along. And just on talking about them beating up, bad sides and that sort of thing, all right, maybe being a premiership threat, maybe not this year, maybe next year, well, it doesn't matter. But you look at teams like the Tigers who will go and beat Bunnies and beat some, and the Eels and win some big games, but then they'll go and lose to bad sides. Well, the Cowboys are disposing of teams they should be disposing of. And all right, they might get run into a harder stretch soon and lose a couple of games against your Panthers and your Storm and that. But because they're beating up these sides, not only is it good for the for and against, but they'll have done enough to, to finish top 8 or, God forbid, maybe top 4 the way they're playing. So how do you knock what they're doing?
Yeah. Ruben Cotter, 120 metres, 46 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 41 tackles, 0 misses. And what I love about their team right now is like they represent what Toddy Payton was all about. People forget that he was a motherfucker. Todd Payton was a motherfucker. It's weird. It's like their new form of media is like we can call coaches motherfuckers now. You could never do that on a Fox League or a Channel 9, whereas like podcasts and that, we can just talk shit. Toddy Payton, mate, I tell you what, him and Fitzgibbon, for me right now, coach of the year.
Yeah. No, I think as well, like you look at what a Craig Fitzgibbon, you look at the way that the Sharks attack compared to the Cowboys. What the Cowboys are doing, they haven't reinvented the wheel. They're just nailing their basics week in and week out, and everyone's buying into what they're doing. Mate, like if you said to me that, Jordan McLean, Cotter, Gilbert, Nanai, Cohen Hess, Griffin Neame, if you told me that was a top 3 forward pack, I'd laugh at you.
Yeah, I'd be like, nah, no way. They'll be lucky to be in the 8. Lucky to be in the 8.
Lucky, yeah.
And the way they're playing now, it's like Chad Townsend, 4 try assists. When was the last time the great Chadwick had 4 try assists? He's playing so good. And, mate, the amount of people that would, like, I'd argue with it, like with the Townsend thing, I'm just like, you're not showing Chad enough respect. Like, you're not respecting what this bloke has achieved and what he offers to this club. And he is absolutely the key reason, or one of the big reasons why they're going the way they are. Like, it is just, I mean, even like the guys were like Holmes and Hiku, like we're not even talking about them, and they're playing career best footy. Like,
well, they're playing centre, keeping an Origin centre out of the team.
Yeah, it's crazy. Kyle Felt.
I love how ruthless the Cowboys are playing. Like they were down at half time and they were ruthless in the second half. They were ruthless against Para up in Darwin. They were ruthless against the Titans. Even like earlier in the year against the Broncos at Suncorp when Nanai scored 3. Like they were ruthless that game. They're a great team to watch at the moment.
Yeah, what I felt as well when I was watching the Cowboys, they go in at half time down, correct?
16-12.
And I was like, I was still watching them going, they don't look panicked at all. They don't look like they're worried, concerned. When a lot of teams, oh shit, the Knights who are currently sitting last, oh my God, they're beating us, holy shit, we need to make the big play. Cowboys said, doesn't matter, we'll get the points, and they did exactly that. So, mate, what about, like, and I just want to give a massive rap to Dearden. Like, the amount of negative pressure that he was under at the Broncos, the next anointed, he was going to lead us into the promised land. Then he just gets shafted, goes up to the Cowboys, plays really poorly. For him to come back the way he has, the mental toughness you got to have to do that is incredible. And he is, he's any bit of joy that he's experiencing right now, he has earned every fucking second of it.
And mate, you have a look at the Cowboys, like, they came out in round 1. Round 1's a bit of a lottery. They lost to the Wooden Spooners last year. Like, you would have thought, like, terrible start. Yeah. They lost that game by 2 points. If they were to have won that game, which was definitely, they could, I mean, I think Hammer, he scored a try at the very end of that game and got it taken off him because he was a foot offside.
Yeah, he was.
They could have quite easily won that one. All of a sudden, they've won one less game than the Panthers and the Storm at the moment. And then you think about their other loss against the Roosters. They lost 28-4. They had 3 players sin-binned in the 21st, 50th and 71st minute.
Yeah.
Like, tough to win a game of footy. Like, the Roosters were the better team that night. But when you look at the season as a whole, they're doing incredibly well.
Yeah. And the good thing is like, this is not an aging pack that's we're concerned about the next year or two. Like, this is truly a team that you can build for the next 3 to 4 years into a premiership threat. So, Cowboys fans, get excited, man. Get excited. Like, Toddy Payton, like we spoke about it earlier, but them tackling every day of the preseason, I don't think people understand how fucking hard that is on the body. Like, preseasons are hard enough as it is. Scotty Drinkwater actually said it's one of the hardest preseasons he's ever had, and he's obviously been at the Melbourne Storm. So, mate, just huge raps to Toddy Payton and that entire squad. There's something special going up there. Also, massive respect to Valentine Holmes. You know, gets signed as a fullback. You could say has to swallow a bit of humble pie, I think, to get moved back to the centre. Doesn't kick stones, doesn't kick rocks, actually takes his game to a whole new level and has been one of the best centres in the competition. So there's something special going up there. Kyle Felt, Hiku as well, Tulagi, huge raps. Congratulations, boys. Jason Taumalolo, killing it, 180 metres, 17 tackles, no misses. So congratulations. Now, on to the Knights. Timmy, what do you think about the Knights, mate?
I'm excited to see them next week because they're getting a lot of players back in their back row. Look, pretty disappointing again. There were signs of life in there on the weekend. There was clearly a conscious effort to get Kalen Ponga's hands on the ball a bit more and get him playing a little bit flatter and faster, which we've been asking for a long time. And that was off the back of picking Phoenix Crossland and Tex Hoy in the halves. They had to get him doing that. There was one try that they scored. It was Dom Young off the scrum. Ponga got it first man off it and was just flying forward and just summed it up, went whack, whack, little jink, created a number, and they scored. It was like, get him playing flat and fast. So, I mean, all in all, disappointing, but there were signs of life in that side. This week they'll get Mitch Barnett back, which is huge for them. Tyson Frizzell will come back in. There's that they're getting there.
Yeah. What do you think, Guru?
Yeah, I agree. Everything Timmy said. He's been talking about the way they use KP for quite some time, and I thought it looked really dangerous the other day. They do get troops back this week. I think that they got Canterbury this week for Magic Round. I think in the first game, they just need to get a W on the board.
So desperate. That's 7 in a row now.
It's been 2 months now.
7 in a row. I think I've worked out this is what I would do if I was head of recruitment at the Knights. I would basically be saying, we don't need a ball-playing 6 or a flashy 6. We need one of the best defending 6s in the comp and a running 6. And I would be saying, Ponga, in attack, you're basically a 6 for us. At fullback, you defend at fullback. But in attack, we want you... I just think on the weekend, the only way they scored points was off Ponga. The kick and then off the scrum. And so I just think that he's so crucial to that side now where you just have to basically get a really strong 6 defender, a really strong ball 6 runner, and say, mate, you don't need to ball play. You just need to be sick in defence and run the ball tough and hard to get us some good...
Kurt Mann
could be the guy. I'm talking more white in size.
Yeah.
Just a big fucking body. Because what his role would be, mate, we just need you to run the ball heaps because we just need you to get on the front foot for KP. That's it. We don't need you to do anything else. We need and then for 7, if I'm doing recruitment, I just need a fully structured 7. Like guys like Chad Townsend would have been perfect. Like if you bring Chad Townsend in that side, then get a 6 that can ball run hard and just defend, all of a sudden the whole side would have changed. If you had Reynolds in that side as well. And so if I'm recruiting for the Knights, basically the recruitment would be all around. In attack, Ponga is a 6. In defence, he's a fullback. And we build a team around that.
Just on the Knights' defence, and I understand that the scoreline could have been a lot bigger if Taumalolo scored in the second half those couple of times. But their goal in defence against the Eels and against last week Melbourne was pretty bad. But there was a moment in the second half, I think it was, when Edric Lee and another player were both getting treated, and it was 13 on 11. And Jacobs Ifedi and Bradman Best held up Nanai. And I thought that was just a really positive moment for the Knights, considering they were 2 men down. Their goal in defence last few weeks has been shocking, and they were able to scramble and hold him up, which was good.
Look, next week is going to be the key for them. Because at the moment you could say, look, it's the Cowboys. They're a great side. They've played the Storm. They played Penrith as well, do they? They've played the Storm. Anyway, they played the Storm and the Cowboys. These are top 3 sides right now.
And Penrith.
So they've got injuries. They've been through a lot. They go into next week against the Doggies. This will be, if they can't win this game, then it's kind of like, then it's panic stations for me. Then it's like, this is something is way off here. Something is way off.
They've also played Sharks and Manly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like, although this 7-game period has been really tough on the club and everything. They've had a lot of injuries. They lost Brayley at the start of the year. They lost Pearce, obviously, recruitment-wise. They've had Tyson Frizzell's been injured. Kalen's been injured. They go into next week. They get Tyson back. They get Clifford back, hopefully.
Kurt Mann should be back next week or two.
Kurt Mann.
Barnett.
Exactly. So, look, it just all hinges on next week for me, really does. Because, like, speaking off air, we probably should have stuck to our guns. I didn't have Knights as spoon. I had them more, I think, like 10th to 14th. I think those first two games maybe gave us all a bit of false hope. But next week is the key for me. If they can't get all those players back and go out and play really good footy and get the win, then I'm starting to go, wow, we got a problem on our hands.
Well, the next 3 weeks, they play Canterbury, definitely winnable game. Play Brisbane the week after, but it's in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Newcastle should be able to win any game in Newcastle.
Like, especially against the Broncos. Like, Broncos are doing well, but they're not a top 3 side. Like, they're at 8 right now. They're not fucking well beaten.
And they play the Warriors into a bye.
Yeah.
This 7-2 could turn into 7-5.
Yeah.
Or 5-7 pretty quickly.
And so basically, the next month of footy is season defining for me. If they can't win this next month of footy, it doesn't have to be every game, but win just the month overall. That's really concerning for me. But what I did like from the weekend, I love Ponga's attitude. I don't care what anyone says. Ponga tried his absolute dick off on the weekend. He was in everything. He was responsible for at least two of their tries. And without Kale and Ponga, they get absolutely wussed, in my opinion. So he's when it comes to effort, he's absolutely delivering. He also had a couple of try savers, one that the did and one that was a double movement. That was great from Ponga putting his body on the line. I also want to give a massive shout out. I thought Jack Johns was really fucking good in defence before he got injured. And I also think Clemmer, 181 metres, 76 post contact, 27 tackles, 0 misses. He doesn't get enough appreciation for what he delivers, man. He really doesn't. Against all of the big dog teams, the only person that has really like made an impact has been Clemmer. So, yeah, look, you can't sugarcoat it. It's been a very rough 7 to 8 weeks. But there is an opportunity now to turn everything around where let's say they win their next 3 matches. They all of a sudden are on the edge of the 8, and then, boom, they could make the 8 towards the end of the year.
Well, mate, if they win their next 3 matches, they then have a bye. Coming out of the bye, they play Penrith, who I assume will be missing a heap of Origin players. You get 2 weeks to prepare for the Penrith Panthers. You get to rest your guys when half their squad goes off and plays Origin. I mean, and it's in Newcastle Sunday afternoon.
This is such an opportunity for them as a club. Like, it's such an opportunity. You couldn't honestly ask for, in context with who they have to play, because you've got to play everyone. You really couldn't ask for a better month of footy. You really couldn't. So hopefully they can turn it around. I do think they're missing Dane Gagai massively. Fuck, he is good for that side. Yeah, and we have to remember, this is a side that's got Tex Hoy and Phoenix Crossland in 6 and 7. First game ever together. Chris Randall, also a rookie. So you have to appreciate the injuries that they're going through at the moment. They're really struggling with injury. I thought Thompson's shot on Taumalolo, was it Taumalolo? Was pretty hectic at the start when he made him drop the ball.
He's got something about him, Leo.
I like him. I like him, the energy he brings. I think Croker brings a lot of energy off the bench, gets through a lot of good work, bends the line a bit. But yeah, hopefully next week they turn it around. Now, on to Storm v. the Dragons. Look, I thought this was I know they ran away with it at the end, but for 60 minutes, I thought the Dragons were pretty good. Yeah,
they just make you pay for your mistakes, don't they, Melbourne? Like, there was that moment where Jack Bird went down the short side and, there was nothing really on there, but that's what Melbourne do to you. Yeah. Their defence is just so good, you got to go a little bit unorthodox. And against most teams, Jack would have gone down the short side. There would have been a turnover. It's okay. But against Melbourne, Jack goes from trying to do something down the short side to standing behind his sticks watching them convert a try.
Yeah. They don't miss an opportunity.
It's fucked, yeah.
If you give them half a sniff, they will make you pay. And there's no other team in the competition that makes you pay the way the Storm do.
Yeah, mate, I thought St George did pretty well to start the game, but the class of Melbourne is just incredible. Pappy, Munster, Grant, Hughes was great too, but those 3 were just like, Grant is just terrorising you, mate, on every single play.
He's so much better than any hooker in the game right now. I know he's got the platform to work off, but he's like leaps and bounds ahead of any other hooker in the game.
We just never seen a hooker like him, in my opinion. Cam Smith will always be the GOAT hooker. No deny. He's just because his footy mind was just like leaps and bounds. But I don't believe we've ever seen a hooker that has so many facets to his game. Like, he's an explosive ball runner. He's got a great footy mind. He's got great delivery. His defence is getting better each week. I was a bit concerned with his defence early on. He was missing a fair few tackles. He's getting better each week. I mean, if he stays injury-free, the damage he's going to cause into the competition is going to be... I think, put it this way, I think statistically, when it comes to stats of like try assists and that, he will probably eclipse any hooker in the game. Now, obviously, Cam Smith, you know, his stats were more about directing the team around, but I don't think we've ever seen a hooker that has this many try assists, line breaks, tackle breaks. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you've got this guy who's got, like, you take Cam Smith out, you could honestly take little bits and pieces of the best hookers of the last 20 years, put them together, and that's Grant. And he served an apprenticeship under Cam Smith.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he is incredible. Even there was a play yesterday where he got out, he sort of went to the open side. They were on the right hand side tram line. He like dropped it off the outside of his right foot, banana kick, and just dropped it into touch like to be a right footer with the markers coming to you from that side and just drop that in. And mate, he didn't even. It was the most casual thing.
Yep. The challenge for Grant now is he is so fucking good that it's all about premierships now with Grant. Like, it's like, if you want greatness, this is all well and good, like club footy, killing it, fucking so, but you're past that now. You're beyond club footy. You are now in the chasing greatness business, and now it's all about premierships. That's it. How many premierships are you going to win? Because that's the only really, we all know your top, the best game that you can play. There's very, very few hookers in the game that could ever play as good as Grant could play. So yeah, he's just chasing greatness now. It's about premierships.
Picking your Kangaroos side right now. You still going with Cookie?
Tell you what, it's getting fucking hard to
it's getting
ignore.
hard to push back on.
Yeah.
But I mean, all the points you still made about Cook do still stand.
It's getting tough. I'm a loyalty guy first, but it's getting tougher. What do you reckon, Timmy?
I'm going Harry Grant.
Yeah?
And I love Damien Cook. I think he's outstanding for obvious reasons. But, mate, like, Cookie's running game is exceptional. Grant has that. Plus, he's a better creator. He's learning to get his team around the park every single game. And, I mean, you've also got to look at the fact that he's playing behind this Melbourne pack that are just dominating teams week in, week out. He's not always going to have that, particularly if he gets to... I mean, the Kangaroos probably will too.
I will say, though, him going to the Tigers was the best thing ever for his legacy, because it's like, he can do it. He went to the Tigers and he fucking nearly got into finals footy in his first year of rugby league, NRL Rugby League. So, I know what you're saying. Like, he's behind Storm, but he has proven he can do it. Yeah.
And watching Melbourne every week, they're my favourite team to watch in the NRL at the moment. And I get so excited. Then it just dawns on me that Cam Munster is in career best form. Harry Grant's doing this, and they're going to do it to the Blues. Or, like, Munster's not that old. They're going to do it to the Blues the next 10 years. I'm like, oh, geez, it's bittersweet watching them.
Mate, it's great signs for Queensland. But, yeah, Harry Grant, he's chasing greatness now. He's truly something special. I don't think we'll ever see someone like Cam Smith ever again. Like, I think he would truly stand the test of time. But I tell you what, he's already... Like, if he keeps on this trajectory, I think he'll be the second best hooker of all time.
Yeah, I definitely think he will be. I agree.
Is Smithy doing anything with the Storm and the hookers down there?
Not at the moment, I don't think. But obviously, he had a huge hand in... obviously he'll have a hand with him in the Queensland side.
Yeah.
But, like, what's crazy is to say this so early. And, again, I'm not saying he's there yet. But what I am saying is I think we're all convinced it's all about chasing greatness for Grant now. No one can question how good this kid is. He is fucking outstanding.
What are you, Origin Game 1, are you picking him as your starting nine? I know a few weeks ago you were tinkering with maybe bringing him off the bench.
Okay, it's a good question. If you had asked me 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would have said off the bench for impact, because I was just a bit concerned with his defence. His defence has improved so much that I would start him now.
80 minutes? Or like, do you play a Ben Hunt? What do you do?
Fuck. Mate, I probably 80 minutes. Like, if he can deliver this kind of shit in Origin, you don't want this bloke off the field. You just don't want him off the field. I don't know. It's a different pace though. 80 minutes in the middle for Origin, very few men can do that.
I will say, like, the other thing you've got to consider with Grant is that this is the first time he's put together an extended amount of first grade where he hasn't been fucking injured. Like, it's the first Origin he's really coming in with proper match fitness as well. As a New South Wales fan, I'm shitting myself.
Like him around the ruck can be the difference. Truly the difference.
Yeah.
The only worry I have with the 80 minutes in Origin with Grant is the fact that, like, because he is so explosive, like, surely he can't do that in the speed of Origin. Surely if he can do that for 80 minutes in Origin, that's superhuman kind of shit.
But mate, he to me, he feels like one of those guys that you're going to get to Origin every year and go, how the fuck does he do it?
Yeah.
He feels like he's an Origin player.
But it's like, for example, like the cheese. Like the cheese is so explosive that he gasses himself out to a degree. And I worry, like, if Grant is running for 120 meters in Origin, could he get through 80 minutes of that intensity? If he can, it'd be fucking amazing.
Tell you who this leads into. Bloke on the fringe of Origin, and it's Reuben Cotter. Pick Reuben Cotter on the bench if you get to the 55, 60-minute mark and Harry's gassed and needs a 10, 15-minute spell. Cotter off the bench can slot in there for 15, give him a spell, whack. Like, you go into the game planning for Grant as an 80-minute hooker.
Yeah.
If he can't do it, I think he can, but if he can't...
So you reckon Benny Hunt loses his spot then?
It depends how they want to go with the bench. But if they're looking at, going, we want him playing... Like, if they're going into it saying we want Harry Grant to play 80, well, do you need Ben Hunt on the bench? Not necessarily. I just think Cotter's a good... Because if he does play 80, Cotter can go on and make an impact as a middle anyway.
Yeah.
Just food for thought.
I reckon they'll go Hunt 14, Cotter 17.
Just have them both.
Pick two middles.
Really? Just size-wise, that's a small bench for Origin. Origin's like the physicality of it.
I was going to say before, I think the way Ben Hunt's playing, I reckon he has to be in the team. And I think 50, 60 minutes of a quality Harry Grant with Ben Hunt coming on, Queensland lose absolutely nothing. So I reckon Harry Grant will play 60.
And I think Ben can play in the middle as a 13 if he has to as well. I think he's stocky enough. But I tell you what, like, think about how, like, a year or two ago, the Queensland side, you were almost like scratching together. Like, oh man, like, this guy's barely in first grade and we're putting him on the bench. Now you're sitting there going, fuck, Cotter is challenging Ben Hunt for his spot. You've still got Tino that's playing really well. For Feeder, that when he comes back and plays really well, like, you've got Moe Fotuaika, you've got, like, Paddy Carrigan. You know what I mean? Like, it's starting to really come together. Lindsay Collins, Papali'i. So, mate, it's looking good.
I can't believe we're this close to Origin and we're not panicked about the Queensland centres at all. Do you remember at the start of the season going, who the hell is going to play centre?
Yeah, but Holmes and Gagai, I'll put that. I'm happy with them against anyone.
I remember when Michael Morgan retired, I thought, fuck, that's going to be a loss for Queensland at centre.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's where they were at.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, Harry Grant, as I said, absolutely amazing. What he is doing, I personally haven't seen a hooker play like this before, like week in, week out. Incredible. We've got to get to him. Cam, Mad Dog, Money, Monster. When have we, like, he is doing things that we just haven't seen. Like, I'm trying to think of a six that's played like Munster, but he's so off the cuff and so raw and just doing whatever like, he's having fun. Like, he's just having fun. Like, he's gooseying for fun. He's little, like, that goosey to flick pass was just pure fun. Like, he didn't need, you know what I mean? Like, he could have probably he's
like the kid on the playground that knows he's the best.
It is incredible. I mean, could you tell, is there any six that comes to mind that plays the way he plays?
There's little things that he does that remind you of guys, but as a whole, as a package, no.
Like, there may have been better sixes or one more premierships or whatever, but I just mean the style of play. Like, it's so unorthodox.
And he can flick you, he can chip, he can run over the top, he can beat you in so many ways. And I imagine when you're defending him,
nightmare.
He could beat me in 7 ways here.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's up to him which way he wants to beat me.
It's crazy. Like, his right foot step is wild. Like, both feet's wild. His kicking game is improved out. It's like, he gets the ball, he's looking left, looks like that as he's about to go left, sees Hughes, puts it boom on the boot, lands it on a dime for Hughes. Like that in last week when he like looking the other way and then did a backwards fucking spiral across. I mean, it is just fuck. What do you got there, Matty?
Just on the Storm, I'll give you a little stat. The Dally M point just came out. So there's 13 players in the NRL that are on 9 points or more. The entire Melbourne Storm spine are on 9 points or more.
Fuck. This is where the Dally M system's flawed because, like, one of them's not going to win it because they keep taking points from each other.
And you know what? Yeah, but we kept saying that about Billy, Slater and Cronk their entire career.
Yeah.
Every second year they'd win the fucking thing still.
Yeah. It's, mate, it just, Cam Munster, How much are you paying for him? How much, honestly?
Yeah.
How much are you
We were
paying
having
for
this
him?
discussion yesterday. I mean, it depends on the club, but I remember sitting here with Dor 6 weeks ago saying 1.5, and he almost fell off his chair.
He was like, no way.
yeah, it's like, well, no, he's the best player not named Nathan Cleary, and he's in better form than Nathan Cleary right now, in my opinion. It's crazy.
What would you pay for him, Jimmy?
I mean, I think at most clubs, probably 1.2. I think you could maybe stretch to 1.3. If we're talking Dolphins, they need that marquee player so bad for like so many reasons for a new club that maybe you do stretch it to 1.5. 1.5 at a regular club, I think that's a shitload of money. I think that's probably a little bit too much. But at the Dolphins, they need star power.
Yeah.
What's the sum of money where the Dolphins go, that's too much?
I think they can't go higher than 1.5. I just can't. Like, that is fucking
If you're going to pay 1.5, is 1.6
Yeah, I know what you mean.
ludicrous, though?
To get the man.
To get him, if you're not going to have him? Like, imagine if they don't have Cam Munster round 1 next year and they come out and they don't have a marquee guy. They'll be sitting there going, fuck, that extra 100K wouldn't have.
You mentioned before, the cap's there.
You've got to spend it.
They don't have, they don't have big signing yet. So it's like, they've got to spend it.
Yeah.
Like, not only for the club's sake, like you have to spend at least 95% of your cap. So you're always going to find people, but if they don't have any other marquees and they've got the money there, well, why not 1.6?
You know, to be honest, like they could work out a deal where first year's 1.5 and then they go year after that 1.3, 1.2. And that sounds outrageous, but it could be like a way for them to go, look, mate, if we want to win a comp, we can't, with you on 1.5, we just can't do it. But we will pay you 1.5 the first year, just to lay the foundation, get people to the club. We drop it down to 1.2 in the next year. Like, I think that's a good deal to Munster in the sense that, look, it's even at 1.25, that is still, 500 more or 400 more than, what is it? That'd be 500 more.
The 750, 500 more.
Yeah. That's $500,000 more. And so I think that, like, just to get him there and you go, look, 1.5 first year, but then we'll drop it to 1.2 the year and after. Like, I think that's like a really reasonable way to kind of get him and say, mate, like, we get you there, you get your big money, you still get fucking heaps of money next year, but we become more competitive in those next years. And maybe he may see that as like, yeah, all right, I can see the reasoning behind that. But I tell you what.
It works perfectly for their current, I know it's early days, but their current their current cap space and how they're looking without these marquees. Well, year one, they probably can do that, hey? So to do that, and it's like almost the opposite of a back-ended, it's like a front-ended deal, isn't it? Where they just smash him first year while they've got that money.
Yep.
And then,
I think that'd be the smartest thing to do. Go big first year and then drop it back. I mean, you could even go as high as like, go really high the first year, just front end him because you got no one. And like, because the Dolphins are almost getting to the point where there's going to be blokes that are fucking not great on like 400K because you've got to fill your cap out.
Yeah.
So like, they're not going to go into a year with paying $2 million less than every other club. So it might be a play for them to go.
Mate, that's what I was saying at the start. At what point do you go, oh, no, I can't do that? I don't.
Imagine if they went like just front-ended him massive and then just dropped it to 1.2. And so he gets all his cash early and then they drop it the next few years and they just go, look, we're going to have a shit roster the first year, but the second, when people come off contract, it's interesting times.
Mate, you're on $4 million for the first season and then your minimum wage for the next 4 years.
4 years in a row. Also, Papenhuyzen, low-grade hamstring injury. Hope he's okay. Fuck, he's good. He's just one of the most exciting players to watch. I don't want to say it because he's one of the GOATs, Billy Slater, but geez, he reminds me of Billy Slater the way he plays. Like, you can't, there's no denying. Like, is he going to be the same as Billy Slater long-term? Maybe not. But you can't tell me you don't see shades of Billy when he plays.
And it's incredible how similar he looks to Billy despite how smaller he is.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just like you get to every week and you look at his meters and you look at his post-contact and you have to remind yourself that he's 85 kilos dripping wet.
Dripping wet.
He does not play like that at all. Look, I think that this injury, it could potentially cost him a Blues jersey, maybe. I don't know if it will, but it could potentially. But I think as he said yesterday, mate, he has been carrying injuries for about a month and a half now. Yeah. He's been battered and bruised and putting in the performances he is. To give him, if I'm Craig Bellamy, I'd be upset for him. But I'd be low-key stoked that he gets a month and a half to sort his body out.
Yeah. I also think, like, you know, if you're Bellamy, we should have rested him at half time. Like
Maybe, yep. Sure.
maybe it's something that a lesson that not a lesson because that's fucking Craig Bellamy, but just out. Yeah, fuck, Jesus Christ. Apologies, I apologise. That's ridiculous. But maybe like let's cotton wool him a little bit, like you know what I mean, because we need him for the back end of the season. If this happens again, maybe they do. Like when he did his knee, maybe next time this happens, they realise look. He's always going to deliver high-quality footy. So let's just pull him off. We need him for the end of the season because obviously the injury doesn't happen if they take precaution and bring him off. Granted, they were only 12-0 up. And also granted, if you start playing like that, you start cotton-wooling everyone and all of a sudden fucking, you know, you got no one on the field. Who else played really well? Brandon Smith, 173 metres. But I want to... Brandon Smith, like... I feel like ever since he signed with the Roosters, it's been a little bit quiet and the focus has been on Grant, but he still rips and tears. But I want to give a shout-out to Tyron Wishart. He was great.
Wasn't he?
He was fantastic when he came on. 130 metres in 69 minutes. Come on at fullback for a period there. Mate, he was great. He was great.
It's another one from the exact same town, Gerringong, that St George have let go.
Yep.
Taken an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
He's absolutely killed it. Yeah, it's crazy, mate. He sort of, when he arrived at Melbourne, I remember I had his dad on the podcast the other day, actually, Rod, champion player. I said, what position is Tyron playing? He went, I don't know. It's just whatever Melbourne needs, I guess, and that's been exactly what he is. He's just, whatever they need, he can do it.
Yeah.
He took on the line there late in the game and cut through with like a big right foot step, hair going everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, Munster to get, holy shit, that's Tyron Wishart.
Yeah, 100%. As I was just saying.
What is going on?
I actually thought it was like it reminded me of Pappy, like little Pappy with his long hair flying. So yeah, he went really well. Shout out to Nelson Asafa-Solomona. You know, he played important match to him, to his father who passed away earlier this year. I thought he was an absolute beast on the field. I'd put him in my team of the week. Only played 45 minutes, but he ran for 155 metres, 87 post-contact, 8 tackle breaks. We said at the start of the year, if they're going to win a premiership, Nelson Asafa-Solomona is going to have a big year, and I think he's having one of the best years of his career.
Yeah.
He's just, every time they need momentum, they bring him on the field, and he just skittles blokes. It's just, yeah, he's incredible. Hughes as well. Like, I think Hughes is playing some really good footy. It's just the fact that Grant and Munster are playing crazy footy. Look, the Storm, they're scary. Remus Smith, hopefully he recovers. Hopefully it's not as bad as they think, which is a torn pec. But if it is, fuck me. All the best wishes with the recovery. Nick Meaney, wow, he's gone to a new level.
What about that try he scored?
Pure pace, like just blistering pace. Yeah, incredible. He may keep that spot now. I love that
you've added some emojis to your notes.
Yeah.
It's a nice little touch. I like it.
I just fired it. There's a few other ones earlier.
Now, it's interesting that, sorry to interrupt, do you think it's interesting that we talk about the importance of a ball playing 13 and the Storm, given Josh King is absolutely killing it, doing what he does, but the Storm haven't really got that?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And they're the one like exception to the rule. They've never really had a ball playing 13. But I think it's because they just play such, like a lot of their widespread stuff, like they'll do long pass to long pass and they kind of cut out the necessity of that. And also their passing is so high quality, even when it's a long pass, that they skip a bunch of players anyway. Whereas a lot of teams don't really have the skill set to do that. They would knock it on, the passes would be behind them. Whereas the amount of times because what Melbourne Storm do is they play front foot footy. And what that is they go long pass, they hit you 3 in, and they just get up on the advantage line and just go again. And so some people say, they're going side to side, but they go side to side, but when they go to a tram line or 20 metres in, they straighten it up and then they'll go again. And so their style is very different to other teams where it's out the back play. They'll just go, Harry Grant will zing a 20-metre pass, Cam Munster will zing a 20-metre pass, and it negates the... Put it this way, like they do score some out the back plays, but a lot of the tries that I've seen anyway, and I don't have stats to back it up, are more just front footy tries. Like they're playing at such a high speed, their defence can't get back quick enough. Whereas you look at, say, the Rabbitohs, it's very slow and methodical, out the back, strip them. And so that's why I feel like they get away with not having a ball played.
It's almost like every week you can pick out one of the Melbourne Storm spy members who was a little bit quiet, but it was okay to be quiet. Fuck, it's almost like if you put a ball playing 13 in there, it's almost like too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think it'd be too many.
Yeah.
It'd be too many. The way I see them play is they're just a very front foot footy play. Like, for example, Nelson's try. What was incredible about that is, like, so Nelson's try, if you go back and you watch the Knights game, there is an exactly the same play. And because it happens so quickly, it doesn't look like a set play because it's like front foot, oh, someone could quick play the ball. But because they're all so on song, they identify that. And if you look back at the week before, they both ran that same line. Olam was there, Nelson was there, and against the Knights, he hit Olam, and Olam scored the try. Fast forward to next week, he hits Nelson on the short ball, and Nelson scores a try. And this is how switched on these guys are. In a split second, I don't know what the call is, but they just call it, and both of those boys just run that line. And it made me think about, like, speaking to Cam Smith about what makes the Storm so great in attack, is that they make sure they always have like A, B, and C option. So no matter what you throw them in defence, the next time they're going to come at you with the same shape, but they're going to take a different option. So it forces the defences to go, we can never pre-plan our defence. We can never sit here and go, oh, here's that shape. We know what's coming. They create shapes that, like, they'll come at you with the same shape, but people will run different lines in the last second. And so you don't know how to defend that, and that's what the Storm do so well. And that's a really good example. The Nelson Olam one, they came with the same shape but hit the different bloke, and they hit the short runner rather than the overs runner in Olam. So, yeah, the fucking Storm are just crazy.
It sounds so easy. You know, you've got a whole week to prepare for a game to be that organised, but it's just when you actually get into the nitty-gritty of it, like to do it in 5 days every week.
Getting 17 blokes to execute, it might be that third plan because of the way the opposition are defending you. It's like
crazy. It's just
seriously.
crazy. Dragons, speak about the Dragons quickly. Look, I know the scoreboard isn't flattering, but I didn't think they were that bad.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I thought this was more a case of the Storm were just fucking outrageous. I thought Sully was outstanding. I think he's played outstanding all year. His ball carries are so crucial to them. Look, I thought Josh Maguire was really good. Benny Hunt, I thought, was great. In attack, in defence, I thought he was a bit... You know, he missed quite a few tackles and has seemed to sneak into his game the last few weeks, but in attack, he's been outstanding. This is a hard one to... Because you walk off the field, it's 42-6, and people are disappointed, but were they that bad? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they were either, but you're right. It's hard to find too much to talk about. With the Dragons, I keep on feeling like I walk away from most games and go, fuck, I don't think they're as bad as what people tell me.
Yeah.
And this was another one, but...
Like, you played a Storm at home that nearly completed at 90% and had 60% of the ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's a recipe for getting absolutely fucking towed up. Yep. Like, the Storm playing like that could essentially put 50 on every team in the comp except for maybe the Eels and maybe Penrith, and that's it. Because the Dragons still completed at 73%. Jeez. You know what I mean? So where do you... They just... Unfortunately, 17 blokes just had a higher skill set. Like, that's really the gist of it. Like, okay, yeah, maybe the Dragons could have completed at 80%, and yeah, okay, fair enough, but... Fuck, it's not a bad knock.
It's another team for the Dragons. They've got a really good 3 weeks leading into their bye. They've got the Titans, the Warriors, and the Bulldogs. It's 3 games that I think they should win.
What do you reckon about this team, the Dragons, Timmy?
Yeah, you boys nailed it pretty well. Like, in my notes, I've got all these critical things and down into the nitty-gritty of what went wrong for them, what they could have done better. But as you said, they were just outplayed by a significantly better football team. And, you know, the Melbourne Storm are significantly better than probably 14 other teams in the NRL or 13 or 12 other teams in the NRL. So it's like, I sat there and watched that second half, and I thought there were just some piss-poor efforts from the Dragons, particularly defensively. But at the end of the day, you spoke about Melbourne's completion, how relentless and how classy they were the whole game. It's just like, that would have happened to anyone they were playing pretty well. And there was a few barge over tries late where you're going, embarrassing. Mate, they were just gassed from just 79 minutes, 80 minutes, whatever, of being peppered.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a bit harsh being too critical on them.
Yeah, I can't be too critical on them. Yeah, they might have made errors or whatever, but this was just an absolutely red-hot Storm. A red-hot Storm.
And the first 30 minutes was a pretty good arm wrestle. Like, up until Meaney scored and off the, like, turned defence into attack, like, it was a pretty close contest up until then.
Yeah, look, Dragons are such an interesting one because, like, they were my smokies for the 8. I probably would have. I don't think they're going to make the 8 this year, only because I think like there are other teams that have improved so much. When you add like Sharkies, Cowboys, Broncos to that, you know, top 8, all of a sudden it becomes really hard to make.
Yeah.
Really hard to make.
The main saying that, like, I think they can win their next 3 games of football. They're 11th at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not that far off the pace.
Who have they got the next 3, sorry?
It was... I just lost it. I think it's Warriors, Titans, Canterbury.
Fuck, but whose spot do they take? Because this is a top 8 at the moment. Storm, Panthers, Cowboys, Sharks, Eels, Roosters, Sea Eagles, Broncos.
And South aren't in it at the moment.
And Souths are out of it. I mean, probably the only spot that they can probably take is, at the moment, Broncos or Roosters, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't think the Roosters will drop out.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't think the Roosters either. So probably the Broncos. And I would say the Broncos are probably playing better footy than the Dragons right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So interesting. The good thing is that although, you know, disappointing loss, they are still only 11th. It's not like they're sitting, you know, fucking 15th or whatever. So look, I just think it was one of those games where the chances of them winning so small, and on top of that, Storm came out and played fucking outstanding. So nothing to be too worried about. I think that the next month will be a really good indication of where they're going to end.
Do we say the name Tyrell Sloan?
Yeah, I mean, we say it every week. I don't want to ad nauseum, but yeah, I think he needs to be back. I think he never should have got dropped. I'm pretty sure their defence hasn't improved that much since then. Now, you could argue Moses Mbaya's had some try savers, maybe, but as a whole, I don't think they've been a better side with Sloan out of it. I think they need to bring him back. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I will say, I think that the Bird at 6 is, I'm warming to that. I'm warming to that over Ramon. I do think like sometimes in defence he can struggle a little bit, so I'm warming to that, but I do think Sloan should be back.
I was going to mention that one. I was like, we chatted about it last week. It's like, all right, if you want to bring Ramon into the halves with Birdie back from injury, all good and well, but it just wasn't the week to do it. Surely against
not
Melbourne. It's like, just if that was the long-term plan, you want just keep Birdie at 5'8", which has been pretty successful for them, let's be fair. Just wait till this next, the Magic round, but anyway, it's in the past now, so
if you have a look from round 2 to now, they've scored above 16 points once in that time.
Yeah, well. So they need to find points. They need to find points.
And it was 21 they scored against Newcastle.
Yeah, okay. But Dragons fans, I wouldn't be too concerned yet. Next month of footy, if you've lost most of those games, that's the time to go. Now, fuck. Sharkies Warriors. What an incredible game of rugby league from the Sharkies. One of the most enjoyable things I've ever witnessed. Seriously, I mean, I'm not even a Sharky. Like, Broncos is my team. But to watch those boys go out there with a man down and then losing another man for 10 minutes and achieve what they achieved, I was just riding the wave with them. You know what I mean? I was like, when they went in at halftime, I'm like, could they do it? Could they do it?
When they came together at the end of halftime, something just looked different about it.
I could feel, like, I don't know, I just felt like, because I was like, if there is one team in the competition with Dale Finucane and Cam McInnes in it, and Wade Graham as well, these are the kind of blokes that do something special like this. They're the kind of blokes that can get the boys around them and go, boys, we have an opportunity here. And I think Nico Hines even said after the game in the interview that it may have been Dale or Fitzgibbon said, boys, we have an opportunity to do something great. Go out and play 40 minutes of footy and we can do something great. And they responded to that. 1 to 17, they were outstanding. 1 to 16, because one guy was gone for the whole time. 2 to 17. 2 to 17. What an absolutely incredible match. And I put it to you. I personally think that performance from Nico Hines is as good as any club performance by 7 I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think it was League Week used to do the old out of 10s, and a 10 was very rare. Fuck, I reckon that'd have to push a 10, all things considered.
Fucking 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
Without him, they don't come close to winning that game. He had something like 5 or 6 repeat sets. It was outstanding, I mean, you know, so we'll speak about Sharkies first and then we'll get to the Warriors, but
just to give you some like context on Hines, and as we always say, it's not a direct thing, but like his team, he's a halfback, and his team played with 1 player down and 2 players down for part of it. Mate, he got the second highest SuperCoach score of the year so far.
132 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And he was playing fullback and 7.
Yeah.
So he would defend at fullback and then he would go up and play 7 in the... Like, it was amazing. This is his stats. 1 try, 2 try assists, 20 runs, 164 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists, 5 offloads, 15 tackles, 0 misses, a field goal, 3 one-on-one tackles, 482 kicking metres, and about 5 repeat sets.
He also scored his try against 13.
Fucking amazing.
Like, just...
Mate.
Yeah.
It just, what an absolutely amazing performance that this sets them up for the rest of the year. They're a threat. They're a threat this year. Now, I still maintain, do they have long enough to find that, that premiership winning performance this year? Maybe not, but I tell you what, fuck, they're impressive. What do you think about this game, Timmy?
The other thing off Nico, like just to add another notch to how good that performance was the fact that last week against Brisbane, just about everything he did went wrong. Just one of them nights. It was just nothing fell his way. Yeah. So, had every right to come into this game a little bit down on confidence, new position in that, and then he comes in and does that against 11 and 12 blokes, whatever it was, or with 11, 12 blokes. That's like, it's easy. I don't think they can win the premiership this year, more so because of just how good Penrith and Melbourne are. Like, to get to that level is something else. But, you go to 2016 when they won the competition, maybe they didn't have... I mean, Melbourne were red hot that season as well. And the Sharks weren't a flashy side. They were a grindy side that won a comp, and they didn't have to be relentless like a Penrith or a Storm outfit to win it. They've got the attacking upside to them there. They're a gritty side. The self-belief is obviously there. The flexibility in their positioning, like how the utility value of so many guys in the teams, like Talakai, Connor Tracy, Teague Wilton, who had a shift there when the send-off happened. Like, they can deal with so many different in-game issues with ease and clearly in style. They're bloody hard to knock, aren't they?
Mate, it's just so impressive. What do you think, Guru?
Yeah, and like you mentioned that 2016 side, like the big thing that year was that the guys they weren't paying much played unbelievably.
Yeah.
And mate, I look at their back line between Katoa, Ramey and Talakai, and then you throw in Mulatala, Ikavalu. Mate, all these guys are getting paid unders. For what they're putting out, they're getting paid huge unders. Connor Tracy would be exactly the same. It just allows you, to have the forward pack that they have.
Yeah. Oh, man. It is just so impressive. Look at this knock from Cam McInnes. 159 metres, 69 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 39 tackles, 0 misses. Crazy.
Yeah. And, I mean, you got to remember as well that they were playing with 12 for the vast majority of that game. They were playing with 12 and then they were playing with 11 when they had to bring Wade Graham and Andrew Fafita onto the field. Mate, both of them haven't played rugby league.
Yeah.
There's no match fitness in the two of them.
And Fafita was great. He came on and made some big plays. Like, he's the kind of guy that the reason why he's so loved by the playing group is when the boys are down, he fucking steps up and he loves that challenge. He loves that challenge.
If you were to just watch that game, just the angle they use when it's just focused on the play the ball, and you said, guess which one of these two teams is missing a player?
Yeah.
There's not a hope in hell you would have picked the Sharks.
Yeah.
They were so quick through the ruck. They were just flying.
Well, you know what they really did is they played very Storm-like footy,
Yep.
where it was just, okay, we're a man down, so we're not going to be able to beat them out wide. Let's just be super quick. Don't worry about post-contact or anything like that. Just quick play the balls in their faces. And it's such a... If everyone's on board with that play style and you can execute it, it is so hard to defend. Yeah, absolutely amazing performance by I thought Talakai was huge, 193 metres, 90 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 6 tackles. Jesse Raymond, aside from getting sent off, I think Katoa and Ramian have just been flying under the radar because of the crazy side of Mulatalo Talakai. But I think Katoa and Ramian, like they're so fucking good. They don't get the appreciation they deserve, especially a guy like, well, Ramian's arguably having career best form, and so is Katoa. Like, the amount of times Katoa would bring it out in a crucial time and they needed someone to break the game open, and Katoa did that. He was outstanding. Mate, Dale Finucane was... The battle between Lodge and Finucane was... I loved it. Because, like, what was good about that is, like, Lodge is, in the peak of his career. He's relatively young compared to Finucane. Hasn't had his body bashed up as much. And what I loved about that battle is, okay, Lodge might have won that early exchange, but what you knew is Finucane, that motherfucker isn't stopping. And so you want to finish that. He's the kind of guy, you better kill that motherfucker because he's going to come for 80 minutes. And guess who won in the end? Finucane won in the end because he's a fucking soldier. He's going to keep coming.
And there was every reason why he should have lost that battle.
Every reason. He's physically, like, his body has been through way more. He's way older. He's smaller. And yet, yes, he got ushed a couple of times. He just kept fucking turning up. And then by the end of it, he was a huge reason why they did what they did. Huge reason why they did what... I mean, his runs and his ability to continue to get back up after getting shot the way he did exemplified what the Sharks were about that game was no matter what happens to us, we're fucking going to keep coming forward.
Yeah, and we've been saying this the last few weeks. Like this, I think you mentioned last week, they had to play 3 games in 11 days, which is a very tough gig. And we said, would this have happened if Dale was on the field? I think this shows that if he was playing the last 3 weeks, I think it would have been very different stories.
Yep, no, I agree. And I just think that any club that didn't have a crack at Dale Finucane when he was on the open market, you should be having meetings about that and going, oi, whoever made that decision, we need to fucking be better. We need to be better because you need to be realising what this guy brings. It's more than just the performance on the field. It's the standards that he sets. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Go down in, the Sharkies history. Anyone that was there, I'm sure, were just fucking buzzing. And what's great is, like, even just looking at the drone shot of the Sharkies ground, something special has happened in the Sharkies. Something special has happened in Cronulla Ways. And it's a place ripe for a powerhouse to be built. Financially, it looks like they're in a really good position as a club. They've got all that real estate around it. I think we might be seeing the birth of the next challenger.
Yeah, it's probably best for Northies that the game was a Sunday arvo on Saturday. Good God.
Good God. So I thought Connor Tracy was outstanding. I thought, 135 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 2 tries. When you're bringing in guys like that to replace a guy like Mulatalo and he's doing that, club's in a great spot. I mean, what an incredible performance. Incredible.
What do you do? Like, I'm assuming that Will Kennedy's going to miss some footy. Do you move Moyser there? You play Connor Tracy there. What do you do at the fullback jersey, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Could bring Trindle straight in, obviously. You could play Wade at 5'8" if you wanted to. There's a few options.
Yeah, it's a tough one because Ramian's going to go as well. So you've got 2 suspensions. I think you probably put Connor in the centres. Maybe Nico back.
I'd be very hesitant to do Nico.
But look what he did yesterday. Do you play like that? Do you play him at fullback in defence and then get him to play 7 in attack, and then you pick a 6 that is just a fucking great defender? I just a 7 that's a great defender, whoever. But you just go, mate. You're fullback in defence.
Just play Wade there.
Yes. So you play Moylan at 7, Wade at 6, Nico at fullback, but in attack he is a 7. Maybe, I don't know.
I personally wouldn't weaken a strength, and I'd keep the halves, and I'd just throw someone straight in like for like at fullback. Whether that's,
but you've got centre and a fullback that are gone.
That's true, but I don't know. I just wouldn't fuck with those.
Who would
halves.
you put there then?
I'd put maybe Metcalf maybe at fullback.
Is he still there? Metcalf?
Yeah, he's still there.
There is also that Union player, and there's also another young gun that's killing it at fullback in
Kate
reserve
Dykes.
grade. Dykes. So maybe we see his debut.
They've got
a bit of depth.
We just named 14 blokes.
Yeah, okay. So if you got that options, then keep Nico at 7 because he is just outstanding. Teague Wilton, shout out to him. Yeah. I thought he was a beast on the edge there. Got through a ton of work. Obviously scored one important try. That outline that he did was just fantastic. Brayley was outstanding as well. I think Blake Brayley is just going to a whole new level this year. His service is so crisp. It's so crisp. Look, Sharkies fans, enjoy that. That was incredible.
I think as well, Toby Rudolph on this side.
Yeah.
Big bit of gear, but he's also, you've got all these serious heads in there, and he just brings a bit of a wild card to it.
Yeah, he was great too. He was great.
Yeah.
He's a perfect mix for him.
You need that locker room.
Otherwise, it's too serious and you're not going to enjoy your footy. So Sharkies fans, enjoy it. And I tell you what, Sharkies are fucking... Something special is happening out the Sharkies. Craig Fitzgibbon, what he is... Like, the Sharks, since their 2016 or 17, there is no way a Sharks is that gritty. Like, we haven't seen a Sharks that gritty. They had one of the worst defences in the comp last year.
Yep.
This year, they put on one of the best defensive performances we've seen in a very long time. Fitzgibbon deserves all the raps in the world. What a coach. What an incredible coach. Now, on to the Warriors. Oh, man. You get beaten by 70. Then you get that 1 point win against the Raiders where you're very lucky to get it. There was 1 point. Yeah, 1 point. Very concerning. Very concerning.
It's like they were stuck in quicksand yesterday, wasn't it? They just, like, you could just, every force drop out, you could see them all looking at each other just going, the fuck is happening?
Yeah. I'm just concerned that I think they need to recruit a few outside backs. I just think that they make a bit too many errors, or maybe they just need to give the outside backs
a lot of inexperience.
A lot of inexperience.
And they're all really talented young guys.
But to put them all in at one time, maybe a little bit too much. Look, there's no way to sugarcoat it. This was an extremely disappointing performance by the Warriors.
Yeah, I think SJ will be very disappointed.
He started so well, though.
He did start well, yeah. I mean, when he took that first run, I sort of thought, fuck,
he's on here, yeah.
The Warriors have arrived, but and it's the sort of game that the new Sean Johnson we've got to know over the last 4 or 5 years, I thought he was going to dominate in.
Mate, it was SJ for me that really disappointed me because his game management and his experience has become so good in recent years that I'm like, all right, pretty inexperienced lineup around him, particularly the back line. SJ switched on enough that he'll go, we don't need to overcomplicate things. Let's punch through the middle, tire him out. The back end of the game, these overlaps we'll be walking through them sort of thing. And they were just spreading early, and SJ just didn't get him around the park well. I thought he would have been the level head to calm them down in this one, and he wasn't. I think it's a bit of a blotch on his radar. I think he'll be fine, but I thought he was better than that. And it's also harsh to put it just on him because there was a bloody ordinary performance. But to see the Sharks having like 2-3 man overlaps at times when there was 12 blokes in the Sharks side for that entire game, just about, I don't know how the hell it happened. Like it's me and Matty were talking off air a little bit and saying I reckon that loss was well worse than getting 70 put on them by the Storm last week or the week before, because the Storm put 50 on most teams. Yeah, but that was just bloody disappointing.
Well, what about that play where they went out to the right and DWZ? You could tell there was nothing on. He just had to take the tackle and he sort of reached around someone and tried to float it up. And then who was there to dive on the ball? Andrew Fafita.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment there, I just sort of went, oh, fuck.
Even that last try that the Sharks scored, like, I know he got hit in the throat, that guy, but it's like, hold on to the tackle. Yeah. Like, I mean, look, maybe he's got a serious injury, and if he does, then I apologise. It was Valia?
Yeah.
And look, if he's got a serious injury that he's going to be out for whatever weeks, then I apologise. But if it's not serious and it was just a bit like pain, you just got to hold on to the ball like
for
just
2 seconds.
2 seconds, just long enough to do it. And I just thought that was a really good. I don't know. Yeah. So look, disappointing. I don't know where to put the Warriors. I don't know. There was a period there where I was going, fucking oath. Like, they've won 3 in a row. If they had got a few calls against the Roosters, it's 4 in a row. But after seeing those 2 performances, that's just concerning. This is
one of those games that Warriors, until 2 years ago, for about the 6 years leading up to that, I'd be like, oh, this is the sort of shit that happens to the Warriors. And then all of a sudden, the last 2 years, they've been super resilient. They've been super tough in games. They've hung in contests. This is just something that I didn't expect to happen to these modern day Warriors. Yeah. I feel like the club had sort of moved out of that period where just, I don't know how to describe it, seemingly weird shit just happens to them. Yeah. And they crumble.
Tohu Harris could not come back any quicker. What they would have given for his experience and level head in that, it's only a back row. He's not calling the shots as such, but geez, they could have used him. So he should be back this week with a bit of luck. And strength-wise, back row is quite a strong spot for the Warriors, but God, he'll bring a lot to him, come back.
He's the closest thing to Dale Finucane they've got.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully the boys bounce back, because they need to. They've shown that they can put wins together. So hopefully they bounce back next week. Magic round's a huge round. It's one of those games, man. One of those games that they'll look back on and go, what happened there? Like, what happened there? I think Nathan Brown, he'll be filthy. But yeah, that's it.
Do you watch the tape or not?
Probably not.
It's not really much to take.
What do you gain from it? It was just like just one of the more disappointing performances that the Warriors have put on, unfortunately.
I think they have to, because if it happens again, they need to be able to go, where did we go wrong? Yeah. And what are we going to fix next time a bloke gets sent off and we've got an extra man the whole game? You have to learn from it.
What about when Ewan Aitken came off and he got ruled off for his HIA? And did you hear the commentators mention that they chipped the club off, that they can actually bring on their emergency sub. They hadn't realised apparently. Like it was just a shambles of an afternoon.
It's a tough night. It's just one of those things where anything that could go wrong went wrong. So yeah, look. To be fair, look, I thought Matt Lodge actually, did play really well. I thought he was probably their best player. He ran for 144 metres, 23 tackles, 50 post contact. I thought I liked his attitude. I liked him trying to shot a guy like Dale Finucane. Outside of that, though, there wasn't really much to celebrate.
Wouldn't want to be playing Lodge and AFB next week.
No, they're coming out swinging. Unfortunate for the Warriors. Hopefully they can bounce back because, look, the positive is that, like, where are they sitting right now? They're still 10th. So the season's not over. Don't hit the panic stations and the season's over and rah. Like, they're still 10th. And that's all due to their good work 4 or 5 weeks ago. Yeah. And so if they can just shore the ship, what have they got? They've got South next week, who've been up and down, and then St. George. If they can win these next 2 games, then boom, it's all good.
Are they far away from getting home? It must be coming up now.
I think it's soon, July. I think it is, something along those lines.
Yeah,
but anyway, look, they're still sitting 10th, which is they can fight. They can fight through this. They've just got to find a way to get that confidence back. And look, maybe it was more Sharky's greatness rather than Warriors struggling, but they're sitting 10th. They get a couple wins. Who knows? They could be sitting in the 8 in a couple of weeks, and we're all sitting here going, just a bad memory. We're sitting in the 8. They're all good.
They're not going to lose anyone during the Origin period.
Yep.
Realistically,
they win these next 2 games, and Broncos lose one of the games. They could be sitting in the 8.
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the season. They've put themselves in a position by getting those early wins to have 1 or 2 performances that aren't great and then bounce back, and hopefully they can. That is us for the week, guys. Make sure to follow SC Playbook 1 on Instagram and Facebook, Rugby League Guru on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to SC Playbook 1's podcast and Rugby League Guru's podcast on all good podcasting apps. Jerseys for sale, 6 p.m. tonight. Be there or be square. They will sell out quickly, I think. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.